Welcome to the weekend live show.
508 is where I'm from.
We run down the biggest stories of the week with you every Saturday night. Let us know in the comments right now where you reppin'.
Apache Junction, Taunton, Worcester, Long Island, Manchog, South Florida, Webster, Malden, Framingham, Tucson, Billerica, Salem, Gloucester, Moosop, Connecticut, Charleston, South Carolina, Roslindale, Moosop, Connecticut, London, Hanson, Glendale, Arizona, Lynn, Mapleville, Quincy.
Hey, you a funny ass guy, man.
Have you ever heard of Turtleboy? Yeah? Are you a fan?
508 is where I'm from.
Hey, what's up?
508 is where I'm from.
How was that?
You a freaking idiot. Stop telling people that I'm mentally deranged and stupid.
Call me Aidan. I'm not a doctor, but...
Get out of my store, please.
You're a fucking loser.
You are a loser.
You're not a journalist. You're nobody.
You're not turtle hair. Don't make such fun of the criminal justice system.
NFL on the house, blog that.
Let's get this party started.
And I will not be intimidated. I will not be silenced. And we will continue on our journey for justice for John O'Keefe and for Karen Reed.
Tick, tick, boom. Noise. Go, baby, we bringing out toys. Boys, chop up the thing, it should be on the voice. Bang, bang, we gon' ride out. Gang, gang, we don't die out. Want it like this, ain't no timeouts. Tell me who really gon' find out. We be disturbing the peace. Working, we serving the streets.
Karen Reed has supporters who've shown up in large numbers.
Tick, tick, boom. Hard body, and not scaring nobody. You make me resort to wildin'. You must be blind by the diamonds. I didn't want it to be this way, but y'all won't need to try this. So it's no way around it. You the loudest one, it's going quiet. We be disturbing the peace. Working, we serving the streets. About to go going beast. Bang, bang, leave you sleep.
This is the first time I think I've ever seen this. An outpouring of support for someone accused of murdering a Boston police officer. Unbelievable situation. Never seen anything like it.
Tick, tick, boom. You can't stop me, so who gon' stop me? You can't stop me, so who gon' stop me? You can't stop me, so who gon' stop me? You can't stop me, so who gon' stop me? We be disturbing the peace. Working, we serving the streets. About to go going beast. Bang, bang, leave you sleep. It's go time. Tick, tick, boom.
Yo! I was muted. There was no sound there. Oh. Hold on. Let me play it again. The clip. Innocent except for Higgins.
Wait, one question. Why is it guilty until proven innocent? Why is that? What about Higgins?
I'm muted.
What about everybody,
Higgins, what? Why are you turning on Higgins? Guilty until proven innocent except for Higgins.
Wait, one question.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Guilty until proven innocent, except for Higgins. Anyway, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the live show, ladies and gentlemen. I am your fearless host. My name is Aidan Kearney. Some people call me Clarence with Emerson. It's kind of like my stage name. People are saying it's very low. I hope it's not too low. But you can call me old school turtle riders. Call me Uncle Turtleboy. I prefer Doctor. That's also my Twitter account handle is at Dr. Turtleboy, DOCTOR Turtleboy. Or you can, some people call me Daddy. That's kind of a somewhat new thing, although, kind of weird. I get it. I wouldn't ask anyone to call me Daddy, but if you want to call me Daddy, as some people insist on doing, I won't object to it. So it is what it is. I don't care what you call me. Just be here every Tuesday and Saturday night at 9 p.m. is all I ask. And make sure you smash that subscribe button, guys. Hit that subscribe button and give us a big thumbs up. Helps with the algos. All that stuff. So make sure you guys are doing all that. Okay. Man, we got a nice crowd here. We got almost 3,000 people I see all so far. We got about 1,000 people, 829 on Twitter. We got about 2,000 on the YouTube streets, and we got 82 Rumble Rats. What's up, Rumble Rats? Nice to see you people out there. 82 of you. All right. We use Rumble a lot because sometimes YouTube has a tendency to take us down. But Rumble never does that. So anyway, I don't care what you call me. Yeah. Get your shit, your gear in the store. We got 3 days, guys, 3 days until it's fucking time. It is fucking time in 3 days. We are going to get in that courtroom and we are going to fuck, aren't we? It's going to be a good time. Well, not a good time for Karen Reed, but a good time for justice because Karen Reed is not going to be found guilty. Everyone knows that. We're going to be able to dunk on them. All the truth is going to come out. And I have never been more certain of that than after what happened yesterday. Like, never been more certain of that ever. Also, what else is going to say? If you guys like the program, hold on. I just got to fix this 1 second. This can annoy the fuck out of me. The thing behind me, this stupid shadow there. Can we get rid of that? All right, get rid of that without making the shirt disappear. All right, whatever. Actually, is it over here? We'll just do this thing. We'll do this. There. Whatever. Who gives a shit? All right. So anyway, actually, let me do this. Can I do this? There. Whatever. That works. Anyway, if you guys like the program and you want to donate, you can't do turtle chats because we had the wrong opinion about a certain president's vaccine mandate. So they don't let us they don't let me take your money anymore. But that's fine because those crooks take like 40% anyway. I know, right? Turtleboy was always right shirts. Those, we should have done those. Turtleboy was right. We need those shirts. But they take 40% anyway. So we built our own little payment processing thing. It's called Turtle Chat. If you click at the link at the top, that brings you to something called Turtle Chat. You can donate whatever amount of money you want. When you do that, you can write a little message. I'll get an email notification and I will read it out loud to the class, or whatever you want to write, I will read out loud. Doesn't matter at all. Also, you can do Cash App if you like to do Cash App. And the Cash App is $Uncle Turtleboy. $Uncle Turtleboy. So let me see if we have any Cash Apps. What do we got so far? Hold on. I got to check my spam. Okay. We do have a turtle chat here. Let me read the first turtle chat. The first one is from Pauly G, sends $10 and says, well-being check on the trolls out there. Plevin has been getting roasted on Twitter for the last 24 hours, which has been so satisfying. They have nothing. Even Plevin, I'm told, had to admit that Adam Lally lied to him yesterday. And you have to wonder, what exactly that means. If Adam Lally lied about something so obvious about that, what else would she be lying about? What else should be makes you wonder what's going on. So anyway, also got a Cash App here. We got first one is from Jody Lloyd, sends $20 and says replay and so many. She sent this earlier. Replay and so many comments. Let's fucking go. We also got one from Jay Norris, sends $5 and says Jill Daniels and Kofi Cracker were very telling. Yes, they were. We're going to talk all about that tonight. The Brian Higgins part of this. And yeah, we got a lot to get into there. So first let me address something, guys, because I saw this, some people were texting me about this. Ryder is alive and well. So here's the deal. I moved into an house rather, and it came fully furnished. And the owner said that he didn't want dogs here. And I said, well, I have a puppy. And he said, is it house trained? And I said, yes, the puppy is house trained. And for the most part, Ryder's 5 months old. And so Ryder is house trained, right? Doesn't shit in the house, whatever. So Right. The problem is when Ryder got here, she has fucking so none of this furniture is mine. And again, there's like a wooden coffee table that Ryder has basically eaten the whole leg off of. And the other day she pulled down a fucking plant, like a potted plant, and the whole thing fucking shattered and stuff like that. And so I had to tell the landlord what was happening. And he kind of gave me an option here. Either I have to move out or, you know, the dog has, like, the dog can't continue to be like this. So currently the dog, as of like a couple days ago, is back with the breeder. And we've kind of left it open about whether or not in a couple months. So this is the first time the dog's been away from her mother. The dog lives with the mother. And this is like the dog is house trained, but it's like a new environment. It's a new environment. And so it's like nervous. It doesn't know all these people. It's the first time it's been away from its mother, or her mother rather. And, you know, the breeder that it has been the only human that it's had contact with. So poor Ryder is very, very nervous. Right. So basically in the next couple of months, I'm going to be driving around a lot. Right. And I realized that right now, this is not for the dog, right? This is not what's best for the dog, right? The dog deserves better than a life right now where I am moving around a lot. And quite frankly, you can't leave a puppy home alone at all. Like, you could put her in obedience school and all that, or the breeder is offered to hold on to Ryder for a few more months, and then we'll see what happens from there, right? And I think that's the responsible thing to do, right? Yeah, Frenchies can't be alone. Like, you can't just leave a puppy alone. And, you know, ultimately, I got offered the dog. So I got the breeder messaged me in jail. She's a turtle rider. The breeder messaged me in jail and said, would you like a puppy? So I didn't go out like looking for a puppy or anything like that. So the breeder messaged me in jail and said, you know, would you like a puppy? And I said, sure. Who would say, I mean, it sounded like a good idea at the time. And when I got back, obviously, I didn't know if I was going back to jail. I was going to take a dog right away. And the dog had to get all the shots. And the dog was learning to get house trained and whatnot. And I really wanted the dog. And I really liked Ryder a lot. And I enjoyed, you know, the 4 nights I had with her. I don't know, was it 5 nights? I don't even remember. But I just realized, I'm just like, you have to come to a responsible decision. And I'm like, this is for the dog's sake. Like, this is no life for dogs. Deserve a life, I think, where they have like a fenced in backyard, right? Or something like that. Not necessarily, because people live in cities don't have that, right? But where they have an owner or people who are around all the time, right? Especially a puppy. A puppy needs a lot of attention. And quite frankly, I think it would be selfish if I held on to Ryder right now. I think that would be a selfish decision. So like, if I, you know, I'm going to be going to these read hearings a lot, right? Hopefully, whatever. Like, I'm going to have to take a lot of trips to Boston, to Dedham, etc. And what am I going to do with the dog then? Right? I don't think it's a good life for a puppy to just constantly being put in a crate and shipped around from place to place, which is the life that Ryder would have had, right? For the next couple of months, at least with me, for the next couple of months. It's just bad timing. That's all it is. Someday when, it's divorces are complicated too. Like, you got to get off the mortgage. In order to get a new mortgage, you got to get off the last mortgage, because you're not going to get a new mortgage if you still have another mortgage. And you got to do all the paperwork for that. It takes a few months to get divorced, right? And quite frankly, it's like, I'm living in a house that isn't mine. All the furniture and shit is not mine. Like, and the dog is just, destroying it. And it's not the dog's fault, but it's just not the right time. It's not the right time. So clearly the dog is not dead. Obviously, this was just a lie by a person who I have an order against, who I have a restraining order against, a person who is clearly drunk right now and with the fake victim. They're drunk together. She posted that she's in Medfield, I guess. So they're together, they're getting drunk, and they're like, let's just fucking post that he killed the dog. And the dog is fine. I got a video of the dog timestamp from today, right? I know exactly where the dog is right now. I could go and give the dog tomorrow. I could go and give the dog a hug tomorrow if I wanted to, right? She would give me the dog back tomorrow if I wanted the dog, right? But right now, I think the dog deserves more attention than that. I think the dog deserves better than the life that I could give the dog right now. So I think the responsible thing to do is give the dog a better life for now. And she's offered like a few months from now. We'll see what happens. That's it. So clearly crusty panties, obviously, this is what she does. She lies. And she said that people are like, how does she know? How does she know that you don't have the dog? How does she know? Like, blah, blah, blah. Because I haven't told anyone. And I'll tell you how. Because she watches her and the fake victim watch who are best friends now. They're basically the same person. They're both, DCF moms with bad drinking problems and are pathological liars. And I think that she was just watching my show every single second of it and realized, oh, wait, she could probably tell you the last time the dog has been seen on one of my live streams. And she's like, Brad, that's 3 live streams in a row without the dog. So she's going to make up a lie about the dog being dead and start this rumor and kind of like try to force it out of me. Where's the dog? Like, that's all that was. And the dog, and she's also saying, by the way, and this is the newest lie that they're coming up with, that the rape word is coming up. They're saying, and they have, they have gone to the Medfield police and made that allegation. That's what I've been told. So obviously this is fake. This is a fundraising opportunity for them because we are attempting to get this order amended. And that's all this is, a fundraising opportunity to get an attorney, and nothing else has changed. But it's pretty sick and perverted that somebody would just make up a lie about a dog being murdered. Like, that's sick. The dog is fine. The dog is perfectly fine. She's great. She's with her mother right now. I got a video sent me today. The dog's fine. So that's it. That's it. There's really nothing more to talk about. Unlike Chloe, I could produce a picture and a video of where the dog is tomorrow. Unlike Chloe, who nobody knows. Oh, she's in Vermont. Is she? Is she? Can we get a picture? Can we get a video? Can we get confirmation that the dog is alive? Can you do that? So anyway, I mean, that would be really weird if you gave away your 6 or 7 year old family dog that you've had for that long. That would be really weird. Right after a dead body shows up on your lawn with dog bites on it. That would be weird. But me, it's like, I just, I feel like it was the responsible decision to do. Like, number one, I can't live here anymore. So I would have to find another place for me and my children to live, because the kids sleep here too. Or like B, you just have to, you have to take some time off from the dog and reevaluate things. That's it. The kids are fine about it. And I told the kids it's a learning opportunity. I'm like, look at kids, like, this is a responsibility. Like, it's a teachable moment. It's like, you have to be responsible. Like, if you take on something that's too much for you, sometimes you just have to you can't take it on. You have to admit when you're overwhelmed with something. You have to admit when you thought that you could do something, but clearly it's not the right time to do it. It's just not a good time. And it's just like, it is what it is. It is what it is. Maybe at another time, we can do that. And yes, Catherine, unfortunately, that they are now making that allegation. They are now making that allegation. That's how sick these people are. It's pretty sick. It's pretty sick. So anyway, that's all I really have to say about that. Let's go on to the show. All right. So tonight we're going to talk about, I was hoping to have Mark come on, but his plane was delayed. So we're going to talk about the SJC thing. The SJC, the single justice, has ruled against us about the buffer zone. And, in Mark's opinion, we could appeal this to the full bench, the full 7-court bench, a full 7-judge bench. He does. Typically, they don't overturn one of their colleagues' decisions. Like, that's not a common thing. We go all the way to the Supreme Court with it, he believes. But I think right now a better option is to just come up with a way, and we continue our protest within the 200-foot, like right outside the 200-foot putt. Like our goal is not to be seen by jurors. We are not trying to influence jurors. Let me be very clear about that. We are trying to influence the media. We are trying to be seen by the media. We want the media to see that we are outraged about what is happening here. We are trying to get the media's attention. That is the purpose of our protest. That is the purpose of when Martin Luther King protested, that's what he was trying to do. He knew that getting the attention of the media is how you get your message out there. And so we are talking about just splitting the troops up into 3 places right outside the 200-foot zone. And so that every media member who comes into that place has to pass by one of us. They have to pass by one of us. Now, I am certainly not encouraging anyone to violate this order. I would never, ever, ever do that. Okay. So I would definitely not recommend it. Now, if you were thinking about doing that, right, I would have a lawyer. I mean, I would not do anything without a lawyer. Like, you have to be prepared to be arrested if you do something like that. You got to, if you're going to do that, if you're going to go full Rosa Parks got arrested. So you just have to keep that in mind. Now, if somebody did get arrested for doing that, they would have I would say that's wrong, that we shouldn't be arresting people for that. And I think it would get a lot of attention. But I'm certainly not going to encourage anyone to get arrested, right? I don't even know, like, that's the last thing I need, right? So I'm not encouraging anyone to do anything like that. So that's all I'm saying when it comes to that, right? That's all I'm saying when it comes to that. It's like, if you are thinking about doing something like that, I don't have anything. I'm definitely not telling you to do that, but I consider Rosa Parks a hero. That's the way history has been written. So anyway, so we are going to talk of strategy about that, about how we're going to protest this. The trial starts on Tuesday. Jury selection starts. And honestly, after the hearing the other day, I am more convinced than ever that this is we're going to see some crazy shit, and this trial might not make it to the end. Like, I have a theory about what's going to happen. So, let me just read a couple. I have Lauren Hayden, who is I don't know if I should call her an attorney or what I should call her. She has passed the bar in 2 states, which to me makes you an attorney. So I'm going to have her on to kind of talk me through some of this tonight. But before I do that, let me just read a couple more turtle chats here, right? First, we have one from Christy, sends $10 and says, how come it's rarely mentioned the fact that Officer O'Keefe could not possibly have been found alive had he been outside since 12:30 a.m.? How can the Commonwealth explain this? That's a great question. He would absolutely be dead from exposure if he was out there at 12:30, 100%. That's another great point. That needs to be, it's one of a million things in here that don't make any sense, but certainly it's kind of not talked about enough. That's a good point. Bob sends $10 and says, Turtleboy, what do you think about the kids being brainwashed against Karen and testifying? Juries are sympathetic to kids. Does the defense just say no questions, Your Honor, and let it stand with whatever Lally draws out of them? Tricky stuff. So that's a good question too. So it's really unfortunate and really low that the Commonwealth would use kids as weapons like that to go after a woman they know is innocent. Like, that's really low. But these are the kind of people who kill police officers and cover up their murders. Like, they have no bottom. These are some of the lowest of the low out there. And they have obviously brainwashed these poor kids who already have lost now 3 parents in this, and Karen, who is a motherly figure to them. And they have been forced to befriend, and be associated with the people who killed their uncle and their adoptive father. So they have no bottom. So when they get interviewed, these kids are going to, they're going to, basically they're going to bring them on there and they're going to be like, tell us about all the times they fought. Tell us about, they're going to coach them and, tell us, like, they're going to find the nastiest things that they witnessed in their house. And they're going to try to create this thing that, oh, this is a toxic environment, right? And she killed him because, he was mad. And, all the evidence, they have no actual physical evidence or forensic evidence to back up anything. So this is all they got. That's how pathetic they are. Now, the defense will cross-examine them. And I've thought about this for a while about how they're going to have to do this. And, I think it should be Liza Little that questions them. Like, I just think optics matter. You're absolutely right. Optics matter. And I think a woman's touch in that situation would, especially Liza, she sounds like a Disney character when she talks. Like, she sounds like a Disney princess. Like, she sounds sweet and nice. And I think that she would be the best to cross-examine them. Because, David and Alan are like, sharp, kind of flashy, like men in their late 50s. And, Liza's, a nice blonde woman in her young 30s. And I think that is a better thing. And the kind of questions that they'll ask them, I think, is, they're not going to try to be like, call them liars or anything like that. They're going to say, what about the good times? Did Karen, how often was Karen there? Did Karen did Karen make you guys dinner? Was Karen nice? And I'm sure they're going to have text messages from the kids in which they say nice things about Karen. I'm sure they're going to have pictures, and I'm sure they're going to have videos. So it is the defense's job to counter this narrative that the children witnessed this horrific environment at home. And they're going to provide evidence through the kids of the good times. Because lots of things happened in a home. If your kids were put on the stand over something like this, and the only things that they were asked or trained to talk about were the negative moments. And those negative moments represented just a small percentage of what the daily conversations were in that house, right? It is, you're leaving the defense with no option but to get them to talk about the good times. That's what they're going to do. They're going to talk about the good times. And that way you're not attacking them. You definitely don't want to attack the credibility of children. That's a horrible look, right? So you just want to talk about the good times. If they're going to weaponize the kids to talk about the bad times, we should get them to talk about the good times, which is much healthier. I think that's what they will do with that one. So it's a really good question. I like that, Turtle Chat. Next one is from PJ sends $5. No comment. Thank you, PJ. Rebecca sends $5. Can you talk about the importance of the federal proffer agreement and what Higgins must have done to make that agreement? Absolutely. We are definitely going to talk about tonight. Watching from Wisconsin. Love what you're doing. That is the issue that we're not talking about enough, is that kind of throwaway statement about the proffer, the throwaway statement about the proffer. But anyway, so let me see. Do I have any more? Did I get a Cash App here? I forgot. All right, cool. And Greg sends $20 and says, Tammy, you still suck with the Q. Okay, cool. All right. Anyway, so I'm going to bring up my friend Lauren now. Hello, Lauren. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So we are going to watch the hearing from yesterday. What are your initial thoughts about the hearing? And by the way, if anyone else wants to donate, the link to the Turtle Chat's at the top. Cash App is $Uncle_Turtleboy. Anyway, what are your thoughts? Did you watch it yesterday?
Yeah. I had a lot of I have a lot of thoughts on this hearing. The fact that the Commonwealth is trying to throw out the third-party culprit defense is pretty disgusting, especially when you look at what the requirements are for a third-party culprit defense and how it's required. And if there's certain circumstances in which you're not allowed to bring it in if it's extremely speculative, but if you could show that the other person has motive, intent, and opportunity, then you have to allow it in. And if you don't allow it in, then it's a reversible error. So that's pretty wild that he did that Lally is arguing for that, and that Judge Bev is taking it with such fervor. Like, she almost seemed angry at Karen Reed for wanting to go forward with the most obvious defense ever. And then the entire basis of everything that we've been talking about. And then, there was, and then also when Lunchbox made that claim about what Karen Reed had allegedly said, I was like, wow, I really need to see that video.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that for sure. That was outrage. Like, you texted me about that. Like, how can he get away with lying like that? How can he get away with lying?
I don't. Yeah, it's gonna be a while.
Let's start with this clip here of, I believe this is her addressing the third-party culprit defense.
In order to admit it, given that I have no information at all, I mean, I don't know who the third-party culprit is, even after reading 4,500 pages of discovery. I don't know what motive a third-party culprit might have. I don't know how it's relevant. I don't know if it's remote or if it's current. I don't know if it's speculative or if it's relevant. I don't know if it will prejudice or confuse the jury. And if it's hearsay, I have a whole other.
First of all, do you need a motive for a third party? Do you need a motive for anyone? You don't need a motive. Sometimes people kill people, don't they?
So if you're going to bring in a third-party defense, so third-party culprit evidence, yeah, you need to show, I had it written here. You do need to show motive, opportunity, and intent is the three things that you had to show if you're using this type of evidence. So, and everything else she said is relevant too. Like, it can't be speculative. If it's based in hearsay, it might also get excluded. Sorry.
Oh, your dog. Isn't that appropriate?
Yeah. Such bad timing. No one's here, so I don't know why they're barking. But
okay. All right. So
yeah. So in this case, they do need to show that, but nothing has been speculative. They clearly laid it out. Bev has misinterpreted the facts multiple times in things that she has written before. And so I find it hard to believe that she has actually read everything and then comes to the conclusion that it's all speculation.
Or how about the fact that where has she been for the last 18 months during all of these hearings in which she's like, I don't know who the third party culprits are. Have you heard of the McAlberts? Like, the people that get brought up at every hearing and blamed for the murder, those people, like, has she not heard of them?
I think what she's trying to get at, though, is that technically the defense hasn't alleged, like, specifically Colin Albert or Brian Albert. They've just said, like, it's someone in the house. And she's saying you have to point to a very particular, like, you have to choose the person who did it, is what she's getting at. But I don't see that as a requirement. And then also what I find interesting is they kept mentioning Bowden. And so I looked up Bowden, and that has to do with you don't specifically have to choose a specific person. And she knows this, as long as you're showing like some sort of an alibi or showing that other people had the opportunity and motive. So I think it's weird that she's like, but who specifically are you claiming? And it's like, it doesn't have to be anyone specifically.
Right. And now this is what his response to it is.
Series of factors I have to consider. So, Mr. Yannetti, are you pursuing a third-party culprit defense?
We are, Your Honor, and I'm prepared to address that. The Commonwealth has raised the issue, and I am prepared to address that today.
So you filed your motions first, and you did not raise it. So if the Commonwealth had not raised it, you did not move to introduce it, correct?
He's like, what?
I have no motion from.
No, I understand. I understand, Your Honor. If you'd like something in writing for us, we can do that. I have a full argument prepared.
All right. So who is the third-party culprit?
We are under no obligation to name any specific third-party culprit.
He got real feisty there. He's like, we are under no specific, we do not have to do that.
How am I supposed? So you're prepared to argue all this?
I'm prepared to argue it, Judge.
All right. So we will get to that when we get to the Commonwealth's motion.
That's fine.
So she wanted a name.
Right.
And they gave him a name. And his name's Brian Higgins. And that name was brought up frequently. And I played this clip at the beginning, of course. This was Jill Daniels, the sister-in-law of Chris Albert, who I called, and she was drunk in last August, and she said this. Innocent except for Higgins.
One question. Why is it guilty until proven innocent? Why is that? What about Higgins? What about everybody? Like
Higgins, what? Why are you turning on Higgins? guilty until proven innocent, except for Higgins. Yeah. Why aren't you talking about Higgins? And so I thought that was interesting at the time because Higgins, they were all just like, he's the only one in the family in the house that's like not family. I thought that if push came to shove, they would blame him, and he is an ATF agent. And now we know from the federal investigation that after he got a grand jury, after they all got grand jury subpoenas, they texted him and he wouldn't answer the phone. And they asked, like, Kevin Albert, the brother of Brian Albert, texts Brian Higgins and says, why aren't you worrying everyone? Like, everybody got a subpoena except you. What's going on? And apparently a lot. Correct?
Right.
That seems to be happening here.
Yeah. Yes. I'm having the same indications that you're having. It is a bit odd. I don't know who's going to throw who under the bus first, but I definitely think Brian Higgins might be involved in that.
Yeah, so let me play. Things got really juicy. They went over all these motions yesterday. I want to get to the Yannetti part where he starts talking he just starts dropping bombs. I think this is it right here about Higgins. I'm going to pull it up right here.
For cause prior to the jury being sworn.
Your Honor, we object for several reasons. First, the jurors are given a questionnaire which specifically asks this question.
It's not the part.
They self-report. We rely on self-reporting from jurors with regard to
Actually, I think it's this
questions.
I think it's the
Commonwealth has cherry. Your Honor, we're in a situation now where the Commonwealth arrested Ms. Reed twice when they didn't have to. I made the argument to you at arraignment back in June of 2022 that after John O'Keefe was found dead on the lawn of Brian Albert's home, I immediately got a letter out to the state police saying, I represent her, I will surrender her, no need to arrest her, just call me and I'll bring her in. They ignored that and they arrested her to get her into custody. I would assert ultimately to make the arguments that Mr. Lally is making today. Then, astonishingly to me, after the grand jury issued indictments, based on basically no new evidence, they upcharged her and once again did not contact me despite the fact that she was completely in compliance with the terms of her release and had made every court appearance. They arrested her again. And so again, I would assert to be in the position that there are.
I thought it was around 159.
With regard to the case that they cited, Your Honor.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. I'm in the wrong spot. There we go.
Third-party culprit alone, not third-party culprit as it goes to Bowden, but third-party.
All right.
Spoken to what statements they might be, who their witnesses are, or anything of that nature. So for those reasons, the Commonwealth feels it appropriate to at least file a motion to be given notice as to exactly what the defendant intends to do. Trial by ambush is simply not something that's permitted by the case law. And that's what the Commonwealth is seeking to prohibit in that second motion. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Yannetti, I'll hear you.
Thank you.
And though they're argued together, I do want you to also start with the third-party culprit alone, not third-party culprit.
Okay, if you want me to.
Bowden, but third-party culprit alone, because of all those factors that I told you, as you well know, the case law is clear, that I have to consider. And if I had to do it now, and you know I can do a pretrial, right? You know that I can today. I can just exclude it. I'm not inclined to do that, but I need to be able.
Why is she reprimanding him? Like the tone in which she speaks to him is so deplorable. It's like, I can do it now. I could just ban this now.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we get that. You're the judge.
Yeah, and compare that to the way she talks to Lally when he forgets his homework, which is every time. She's like, "Did you forget it, Mr. Lally?" Yeah, she scolds him. Like she scolds him. She yells at him like he's a kid. Like she's such a cunt. I've never seen a judge like this. but he sits there and takes it, and he reacts professionally.
Those decisions to weigh those factors, because right now I have zero information.
Right, I understand that, Your Honor, and that was my plan going into today anyway. So the initial question is, why is there a third-party culprit defense? Why is it relevant? And we start, Your Honor, with the fact that our forensic medical examiner, Frank Sheridan, a forensic pathologist who has performed himself thousands and thousands of autopsies, has already submitted a sworn affidavit to this court that John O'Keefe's injuries are consistent with having been in a fight and are not consistent with having been hit by a car. Since he submitted that affidavit, the federal authorities have provided us with their reports, whereby FBI experts also corroborate that John O'Keefe's injuries are not consistent with having been hit by a car.
I don't understand how they're even moving forward with this after hearing that his injuries are not consistent with being hit by a car. Like, how can it go forward after that? Unless you just disregard everything that the FBI has to say.
I have no idea what, like, the Commonwealth is probably going to have an expert witness of their own. We haven't seen the witness list yet. And maybe they'll have someone refuting what the FBI says and says, you know, like, oh yeah, those dog scratches are 100% road rash, because I'm sure
rash.
The jury has never seen road rash before, so they'll buy that. And you know, the gash on the head and the black eyes and everything, that's totally, and no broken ribs, totally consistent.
No bruises, nothing bruises on the body, nothing, no damage to the car. But whatever, like,
yeah. And the Twitter trolls are like, no, the fact that he lost a single shoe is very consistent with the car crash.
Okay, sure thing. Yeah. All right, let's play some more. Yeah.
Employed experts in biomechanics and kinematics who have reviewed the evidence in this case, and they've confirmed that the physical evidence essentially shows and doesn't show what Dr. Sheridan has opined. So therefore, if John O'Keefe was not hit by a car, that means that Karen Reed did not kill him. And we know that John O'Keefe did not die of natural causes. This was not a heart attack or a stroke. John O'Keefe was injured. He was mortally injured. If he was not hit by a car, as both our expert and FBI confirmed, then he was attacked. And if he was not hit by a car, then there is a third-party culprit or culprits. So by asking this court to prohibit the defense from introducing evidence that others had the motive, opportunity, and the means to attack John O'Keefe, the Commonwealth is essentially asking this court to prohibit Karen Reed from being able to defend herself.
So I don't think they're asking that you be prohibited from doing that. They're asking first to have you tell them what that is.
Right. Well, this is, you know, Your Honor, I'm getting to that in terms of
right, so go ahead. You have your remarks.
That we're either required to give them or not. You know, it is not our job to solve this case for the prosecution. It's our contention. They had the opportunity to do that, but they failed.
I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like, how can they tell you definitively who killed John O'Keefe? They weren't allowed in the house to like look around and ask questions and do an investigation. That was Michael Proctor's job.
Right. And that's specifically the case that they keep referencing, Bowden. It's like, in that case, the police officers didn't even look into anybody else. And the defendant was saying like, hey, you guys didn't do your job. You should have looked at you should have looked at somebody else who could have committed this crime. And then the judge erred in not allowing that type of evidence by saying like, hey, you can't just say it could be somebody else. And it's like, yes, you can. If the state, it's not our job to solve crimes. The state has all of the resources, has the police force, was there the time it happened, where the first people, you know, police are the people on scene and have every ability to figure out who did it. It's not the defendant's job. You have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they did it. And if you didn't even look at anybody else, you've chosen your mind, and then you've used the evidence you have to paint the one person that you have in mind as guilty. And then you make it so that the defendant is excluded from talking about the fact that it's probably somebody else. That's ridiculous. And that's the case law that they're discussing. So I don't know why it's so weird to hear them mention the case and then completely ignore the case that they're talking about.
I mean, it's just like, so you could just kill someone. Like, that's the whole fucking thing here. How the hell are we supposed to know who did it if the police didn't do their job? So, like, you can just get away with this, and the person can't use a third-party culprit defense because they don't have the ability to find out who was driving that Ford Edge. Michael Proctor does, and they didn't fucking do that. And so it's like, so they could just cover shit up, huh? Okay, gotcha. That makes tons of sense. But he goes on.
It is not our job to name a specific third-party culprit. We do not have to prove that Brian Albert or Colin Albert or Brian Higgins or some combination of them intended to kill John O'Keefe. We don't have to prove that any of them attacked John O'Keefe such that he eventually died. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they didn't. But the fact of the matter is, there is evidence that all three of them had a motive, had the opportunity and the means to attack John O'Keefe. Now, the Commonwealth cites Commonwealth versus Conkey in their motion, and as this court started the discussion on this issue when you first took the bench, Conkey makes clear that a defendant has a constitutional right to argue that somebody else may have committed the crime. And certainly, no, the acts of that person can't be too attenuated in time or method of operation, as Mr. Lally mentions. But in terms of being the right time period, Your Honor, you can't get any closer than their presence at the scene at the very time that John O'Keefe was killed. And in terms of the method of operation, given that we have evidence that he was not hit by a car and that he was attacked, all three of these men, either alone or in combination, possessed the ability to attack him with or without a weapon. I mean, it's a very low standard here. The Commonwealth acknowledges that. It's a low standard of simple relevance.
Okay.
And the evidence here establishes relevance. Now, I would note, Your Honor, the Commonwealth cites Commonwealth versus Finney.
Yeah.
I don't know if they realize this, but that was my case.
Oh, yes. This is great.
Douglas Finney before the Supreme Judicial Court. And
like, they actually cited a case in which he was, you know, the person. Yeah.
It's so funny because I've reviewed Lally's motions before, and as I get more in depth, every single time I go to review like the cases that he's citing, like, oh, I'm using this case to prove my point, it is almost never on point. So I'm like, does he read the cases that he's citing? No. Or yeah, he's just
he had no idea that Yannetti was part of this very same case that he cited. And he's like, you got it all wrong, dude. I was on that fucking case, you fucking moron. You absolutely
That's so embarrassing. Not only did he get it wrong, but got it wrong against the attorney that you're currently arguing against. I'd be too embarrassed to ever show up, and I would hang my attorney hat and never go back into a courtroom after that.
Like, that's so embarrassing. So like, all right, so
presented him at his motion for new trial and at his retrial. And that case, the Finney case, provides strong support for the introduction of third-party culprit evidence here, irrespective of a Bowdoin defense. In fact, the reason that Mr. Finney's conviction was overturned was that his trial counsel failed to pursue a third-party culprit defense. And Your Honor, the third-party culprit defense in Finney was weaker, far weaker than the third-party culprit defense we have here. The evidence of motive in that case was that the third-party culprit made derogatory statements about the victim after she was murdered. No witness in that case put the two of them together. No witness in that case put the third-party culprit at the scene of the murder where the victim was murdered. There was some consciousness of guilt evidence similar to what we have in this case. But in Finney, the SJC ruled that not only was that enough for a defense attorney to present a third-party culprit defense, but he was ineffective for not doing so. And as the court has also touched upon, the SJC found that on the basis of that third-party culprit evidence, which is weaker than what we have here, there were substantial connecting links between that third-party culprit that justified the admission of hearsay in that case. And I want to make it clear, we're not looking to introduce any hearsay statements, so we don't need substantial connecting links here. Now, Your Honor, I could go through with the court the specific evidence we have with regard to motive, opportunity, and means with regard to the three Commonwealth witnesses that I've named.
So go ahead.
Let's hear them. Let's hear the names.
Happy to do it.
All right.
Starting with Brian Higgins.
Oh, okay.
He was present at 34 Fairview Road on January 28th to 29th. He was close friends with the homeowner, Brian Albert. He had a prior romantic interest in Karen
Ooh, the
Reed.
motive.
Opportunity,
He
motive.
did not expect Karen and John O'Keefe to be at the Waterfall, that bar, on January 28th. Karen Reed did not greet Higgins, despite the fact that they had previously exchanged flirtatious texts.
So the McAlbert crew on Twitter keeps pointing this out. They're like, why don't you talk about the text messages between Higgins and whatever? And they were smooching in the garage, and he was cheating on her. She was cheating on John with Higgins and all this stuff. It's like, to me, when I heard all that stuff, it's like, so you're giving motive to Higgins. That's what I hear from that. It's like, so what? So Higgins was jealous. And John, if John found out about this, he would be understandably upset with Higgins, and maybe a fight happens between the two of them that leads to something bad.
That makes way more sense than getting angry and then over breakfast and then stopping angry enough time to go to the bar and then getting angry on the way to dropping him off at the party, and then drunk driving consciously in reverse purposefully with enough velocity to hit him, and then to wake up a few hours later and decide, oh, actually I should go try to save him, and then go back out. Like, that's your theory, as opposed to angry ex-lover gets jealous. Like, that is such a common murder scheme.
Yeah, it is. Yep. And like, why would she kill him in front of the house? Like, she's like, I'm going to kill this motherfucker in front of a cop's house. Like, what?
Right. With witnesses, because, she's just staring at the window as
yeah. Hopefully no one sees this. Hopefully no one sees me do this. And then I'm going to wait out there. They all said that she waited out there for like 10 minutes. It's like, so what the fuck? Like, okay, so none of this. And Ryan Nagel didn't see any of this. And Ryan Nagel's behind somehow. And then she left the body there, and Lucky Loughran didn't see the body somehow.
And no one leaving the party.
Not a single person leaving the party saw that body.
Even though their cars were parked right in front of where the body would be.
Right. Exactly. Well, they would have pulled out this driveway, and then they would have gone down this way towards his body. The body would have been feet away from them as they drove right by it. The headlights would have been right on it. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? And they, I guess it's just an app. That's what they want a jury to believe. Good luck with that. So he names Higgins as having the motive and the opportunity to do it.
And that she had been at his apartment one evening, although there was nothing that took place between them any more than a peck of a kiss. At the Waterfall, Higgins does not engage with John O'Keefe.
Oh.
He does not say goodbye to John O'Keefe and Karen when he leaves, but before he leaves, he texts Karen, and that text was something to the effect of, well.
What do you think that text? What do you think that means? Well.
It's like, oh, we're still interested in each other, right? Like, why are you with this guy? Like, you're seriously choosing John O'Keefe over me?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Like, yeah. I thought I was, and she didn't talk to him all night. She shows up with him. She's like,
he doesn't go to the party, and I think possibly she didn't want to go to the party because she didn't want to interact with him anymore.
Yeah, and she's like, and by the way, on the way out, there's video of him and Brian Albert play fighting, and a lot of people think that like they were just like warming up to tune up John O'Keefe when he came over. Well, it's so gay. Like, so what's up with that? Like, he couldn't even talk to her the whole time when he was there. So he just texts her like, so are we fucking or not? Like, are we, you're fucking him. Like, that's exactly how I read that. And I think everybody who's ever texted before reads it as such as well.
Yeah.
With a lot of M's. We know that there was a preservation order from this court, your predecessor, Judge Krupp, to preserve his cell phone, and that Trooper Proctor gave him an edict an order to serve on Brian Higgins, and he left it at the front desk of the Canton Police Station for him. And that Higgins, we learned through the federal investigation, Higgins became angry, demanded that Proctor come back, and he essentially upbraided him and read him the Riot Act, which shows a little bit about Higgins' personality.
So Judge Krupp who is the judge on this case before, who hates me and is the judge on this case before Kearney. Judge Krupp issues a preservation order back in September of 2022. Orders Alberts and McCabe's and Higgins to preserve their phones. Pretty standard stuff. And Proctor is the one who has to serve it on them. So Proctor serves this on him in the police station, and Higgins becomes irate, like, motherfucker, like, who do you, even he was just like, who do you think you are, Proctor, serving this on me? Get the fuck out of here with this preservation order. And a preservation order means you can't fucking touch your phone. You can't destroy it. You can't like,
you're not allowed to like snap a SIM card. Are you allowed?
No, you're done, especially not at an army base. You can't do that. And yeah, so that pisses them off.
Also, that's like the definition of a corrupt cop. Like cops, you should know the legal process. If you're a cop, you're used to serving people. You're used to trying to preserve evidence. And then you get pissy because someone wants to preserve evidence, but it's gonna, that would only happen if two situations: you're corrupt and you're guilty.
Right. Right. I mean, it's just, I made a tweet about this, and I'll read it to you guys, right? Because I feel like it needs to be said again, right? Innocent people, right, don't go around destroying phones, destroying SIM cards, deleting hours worth of phone calls between 5 and 9 p.m. at the exact time you find a dead body, lying about the context of booking videos, offering gifts to detectives for not investigating their children. And I could go on and on and on about the things that innocent people don't do. Innocent people don't, bury their heads at football games when people take pictures of them and don't go into hiding. They don't get rid of their dogs. They don't get rid of their homes. They don't replace entire basement floors that they just had replaced a couple of years ago. They don't do this shit. And these people do all of it. A lot of coincidences here, a lot of minutes missing from videos and shit like that. This doesn't happen often with innocent people. And we're just supposed to be, yeah, these people are all just innocent.
And also innocent people, not always, but frequently talk out, speak out, and they say, hey, I'm innocent. And that's what I've been seeing a lot of from this defense team. And most of the time you hear attorneys say like, hey, don't say anything. And attorneys don't say anything and they don't answer press questions, but not Karen Reed's team. They are very, very vocal about professing her innocence.
Yeah. So let me see here. Back to this. Let me play this.
At the end of the night, everyone discussed going back to 34 Fairview. And when he gets back to 34 Fairview, he texts not Karen, he texts John O'Keefe at 12:20 a.m. He testified before the federal grand jury that he had no knowledge that they had been invited to 34 Fairview, but that is contradicted by this text message.
Right.
And the inference is that he was coaxing John to come to that house.
Right.
And, we're not saying this gives him a motive to kill John, but we don't have to show that. Any motive to feel hostility or animosity towards John O'Keefe goes to his motive. Right. And Your Honor, when Brian Higgins and Brian Albert are in that house.
Did they say what the text was that he sent John at 12:20? Did you hear that part? Okay, because people are like, what was the text? I can't wait to hear what he texted. So we don't know what he texted John at 12:20, but that was like right when he arrived at 12:20. That's right when he got there. They got him going up and down stairs between 12:21 and 12:24.
Also, just the fact that he's hiding the fact that he knew he was coming to the house. It's almost like they invited him to the house just to bully him, beat him up. I don't know if they actually intended to kill him, but it seems like they invited him to the house just to harass him. And then they wanted to pretend like, oh, we didn't even know he was coming. Brian Higgins, I didn't even know he was coming. Bullshit.
Right. Right. Okay. they act, yeah, and it's like they get caught in all these lies. Hold on.
They're the only two people who are unaccounted for when the rest of the group was in the kitchen. And they claimed that they were looking at photographs together. And we have evidence that they were in the basement.
Ooh.
We believe that Brian Albert made a mistake before the state grand jury by testifying they went upstairs to look at photos.
Who said
Brian
that?
Higgins says unequivocally that the only place the two went was into the living room to
Oh.
look at photos,
Oh, so that means
military ribbons, whatever they were looking at. Brian Higgins did not know that Brian Albert had said they went upstairs. And he also testified he had never been upstairs at Brian Albert's house in his life. That means that if Brian Albert said they went upstairs, they're coming up
from the basement. Oh, interesting.
And before leaving 34 Fairview, Brian Higgins testified he was parked right in front of the mailbox. He would have had to have walked by where John O'Keefe's body was. His headlights, when he got in his vehicle, would have been illuminating where John O'Keefe's body would have been in the yard if it were actually there.
And by the way, this is why there's a motion by the defense to go to 34 Fairview Road with the jury. They need to see this shit. They need to see with their eyes exactly how impossible this would be. Like what somebody sitting in a truck would see on that lawn, even with an inch of snow, like an inch of, they act like there was fucking like 10 feet of snow out there. There was a goddamn inch of snow. And, you know, it would have been right fucking there. Like he wasn't covered and hidden in snow. It's fucking ridiculous.
Right. And also they talked about his body heat. So when the Commonwealth wants you to think that he was covered in snow, they say like, oh, well, you know, it was snowing, it was a nor'easter. But then at one point, the Commonwealth also mentioned, well, also the snow wouldn't stick to him right when he was right when he died, because he still would have had body warmth. And so the snow would actually melt off of you if you were just like a body lying in the grass.
Bro.
With 1 inch of snow on the ground, that wouldn't mean there's 1 inch of snow all over him. Not at all.
Yeah, exactly. You would be perfectly visible, especially with somebody with like bright lights just feet away from you. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. He also, like his story, by the way, that the plow was parked on the street is contradicted by Ryan Nagel's testimony, because Ryan Nagel said that he was parked by the driveway and Karen Reed was over here. That would mean Brian Higgins is in between them, which means Ryan Nagel couldn't see Karen's car, which he said he could. So that's contradicted by that. That doesn't make any sense at all. Brian Higgins is just a liar. He's fucking lying. And why would an ATF agent, a federal agent, lie to a grand jury in a murder case? Like, why is anyone lying at all?
Because you're guilty.
Yeah, exactly.
How does he not see it? He then goes back to the Canton police station at 1:30 in the morning after leaving 34 Fairview. He claimed to do some administrative work, but then he admitted to the federal grand jury that he was there to move his car because of the upcoming snowstorm. This suggests that he was fabricating a reason for going back to Canton police to establish an alibi for himself. He was asked.
So let me play that part one more time, because that was interesting. Hold on.
He would have been in the yard if it were actually there.
Hold on.
So how does he
One more
not see
time.
it? He then goes back to the Canton police station at 1:30 in the morning.
That in and of itself is shady. Going to the Canton police station at 1:30 in the morning after a day of drinking. For what?
Right.
Why are you clocking into work after a day of drinking? Except to establish an alibi, right? That's the only logical explanation I can.
After leaving 34 Fairview, he claimed to do some administrative work.
Oh yeah, drunk.
But then he admitted to the federal grand jury that he was there to move his car because of the upcoming snowstorm.
What?
This suggests that he was fabricating a reason for going back to Canton police to establish an alibi.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go.
He was asked several times at the federal grand jury if he had any conversations with anyone before he went to bed. And when was he notified that John O'Keefe was dead? In the morning, he said. He testified under the pains and penalties of perjury that he had absolutely no contact with any person that night for any reason whatsoever. But he apparently was surprised that the federal authorities had subpoenaed his phone records, and he had to admit, and he did admit under oath, he made that 2:22 a.m. phone call.
So
His butt did.
Yeah.
Okay. Stop blaming him. It was his ass that made the call. Okay.
So just to review, he goes and he got subpoenaed to go in front of the federal grand jury last April, a year ago. He goes in front of the federal grand jury. They said, "Did you call anyone that night?" And he goes, "No." And they say, "Well, we got something here. We have your phone records, which you didn't see coming. We got your phone records. And it says right here that you called Brian Albert at 2:22 a.m. Now, to me, this is where they got him. Like, until that was the moment when when he realizes, oh shit, they got my phone. It means they got everything. They know that I'm lying. Like, you have lied to a federal grand jury, which is a crime in and of itself. And now they got you by the balls. Now they can get you to do anything. Now you are in, they're in charge now. And like, in order to save himself at this point, this is the time when he stopped talking to them, Alberts. He has not talked to them for a year now. And this was the moment, I think, when he went in front of the federal grand jury and they caught him lying. And now he's got to work with them. He's got to tell them shit. Just my opinion. We'll see.
Around the same about 5 minutes before Jennifer McCabe is Googling how long to die in the cold, about 8 minutes before Brian Loughran, the plow driver, first drives by the house and sees no body at all. And the next morning, Brian Higgins, the first person he spoke to was Brian Albert.
I'm going to stop you for a minute.
He loves interrupting.
I think we need a break, Madam Court Reporter.
Like, what the fuck is that? Like, this guy's going somewhere. We're dropping these bombs, and he's just like, I think we need a break.
I've actually never seen that happen before. I've never seen an attorney in the middle of what they're saying, like in the middle of an argument, like Commonwealth already went. Now it's the defense's turn. He should be at least able to finish up this. There's like multiple times. So before it goes to the Commonwealth again, okay, that would be a good time to take a break. But literally mid-paragraph, somewhat mid-sentence, you're going to cut him off because someone who types all day, every day might need a typing break. And he talks slowly.
Yeah, and
it's not like he was, it's not like he's Ben Shapiro.
Yeah,
this isn't like the hardest case that this person has ever had it typed out. She does not need it.
Like, listen to, and this is what her excuse is.
Do you need a break? Can you go? How much longer do you think you have with this, Mr. Yannetti? How many more pages or how long you think?
Yeah, I've got about, in terms of my recitation of the facts, I've done about a page and a half and I've got 3 left.
Madam Court Reporter, would you like to take a little break? It's hot in here and you've been going.
It's hot in here. Like, she's like, literally, did the court reporter ask for a break? She's like, do you need a break? You're hot, right? You need a break, right? Like, what the fuck?
That is what I've never seen that before. I've never even heard of that before. I know that they take breaks for the court reporters, but usually this is after like a very, very grueling testimony or very like where there's someone on the stand and they're talking over the attorney and there's like, that's when it gets really, but even then they usually wait until that round of questioning is over and then they have a break. I have never, ever, ever seen anything like that before.
It's like, the stenographer's job to type.
Yes.
Like, that's literally her only job. Like, she's not, I didn't hear her complaining about it. She didn't raise her hand and say, I could use a break. I'm getting hot typing all these words. Like,
and the stenographer, I have heard stenographers like chime up and be like, hey, like I'm struggling with like, hey, can you please slow down?
Can you repeat that for me? Can you tell me how to spell that?
So if the stenographer was struggling, like, hey, I need a break, she would have spoken up. I have never heard a judge, hey, could you please stop what you're doing? It's a little hot in here.
Madness. Madness.
Get a beer.
Nonstop.
Look at his face.
Okay.
He's just like,
take a 10-minute
he was pissed. He snapped. All right. Take a 10-minute break, and it turns into a 27-minute break. It's actually a 28-minute break.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's to get him off his roll.
That's exactly what it was. Ruin the momentum.
Your Honor, I left off with the morning of January 29th. The first person that Brian Higgins spoke to was Brian Albert. He had missed a call from Chief Kenneth Berkowitz earlier. Immediately after getting off the phone with Brian Albert, Brian Higgins drives back to 34 Fairview, where he has a meeting with just about all the witnesses in this case, Brian Albert, Julie Albert, Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe. And immediately after that friends and family meeting on his day off, which is a Saturday, he returns to the Canton Police Department, where he speaks with all of the first responding officers who had anything to do with this case. So This is a quote-unquote witness accessing and communicating with all the first responding officers. We would argue monitoring what they're doing in regard to the investigation.
Doing.
According to Brian Higgins, he admitted that Chief 𝗵𝗂𝗧 is one of his best friends, and that's why he had access to all these people.
Unbelievable.
We have a law enforcement witness.
How about this?
Who will testify to seeing Chief Kenneth 𝗵𝗂𝗧 and Brian Higgins alone.
But look at Nate Reed. So he just looks over at them like, you motherfuckers listening. We have a law enforcement official who's testifying that he saw Higgins and 𝗵𝗂𝗧 alone.
Karen Reed's vehicle, on the afternoon of January 29th of 2022 for, quote, a wildly long time.
So is this a name that's been in the materials? Is this a name known to the Commonwealth, or is this somebody new? Okay.
We've now received video surveillance from the Canton Police Department that shows that there is an interior camera in the Sallyport garage.
So first of all, that I feel like that we're underrating what he just said there. They have a Canton cop who's snitching. They have a Canton cop. Sean of the Gulf's been calling out for quite some time. We have a Canton cop who apparently is on the witness list already, which means it's one of the, there's only 5 Canton cops on the witness list. It's Saraf, Mullaney, Gallagher, Lank. I think that's it. Those are the responding officers there that day. So one of them saw, right, the chief of police, who wasn't even active at the time, and this ATF agent who's best friends with the chief, alone with Karen Reed's vehicle for some reason, for a substantial period of time. Oh, and Sean Good, right? So Wanless is not on the witness list though. So
no,
he said somebody who's been. Go ahead.
That can't be true because Plevin said that there wasn't enough time to be alone with the car.
He's such a fucking moron. I know. It's just like, we're going to get to the time thing now. Actually, he's going to bring this up, but I just think it's really interesting that, I mean, that's a pretty big bombshell that they have someone in the Canton Police Department who is going to testify for the defense. Ooh, interesting. Against his former boss, Ken 𝗵𝗂𝗧.
That's crazy.
Where the car was housed. But during the exact time that third-party officer indicates that 𝗵𝗂𝗧 and Higgins were in the Sallyport together, the video mysteriously cuts out for 42 minutes.
Look at Karen's dad, by the way, when he says this, how the video cuts out. Watch his reaction to this.
And Higgins were in the Sallyport together. The video mysteriously cuts out for 42 minutes.
Motherfucker.
Between 5:08.
Another missing video. Like, that is another bombshell. The Canton Library shit just
must be motion activated. That's what it is. And there was no
shit just mysterious. Like the Canton Library video just stopped working at the most important time when Karen Reed's car went by it. And this video stops working when Karen Reed's car shows up. Karen Reed's car has a tendency to make videos just disappear. Cameras stop working the second that 2021 Lexus LX just shows up. It just makes cameras stop working. It's pretty crazy.
Between 5:08 and 5:50 p.m.
5:08 and 5:50.
Just to be clear,
that's 52. That's 42 minutes. Okay, of footage that has disappeared. Now let's do Plevin the stupid timeline. Okay, the 4:15. The police tow the car from Dighton. Dighton's like 40 minutes away. Let's say they're going a little slower because it's a tow truck and it's snowing. It takes 50 minutes, right? So you get there. It would get there around 5:08. and so Plevin has told us that it is impossible to get that taillight to 34 Fairview Road, to break it and get it over there, because he says that there was police monitoring the scene at 34 Fairview Road. Except I've posed this question to Moron a million times, Plevin. What evidence do you have that 34 Fairview Road had a cop watching it the whole time? Do you have any, who was the cop that was watching 34 Fairview Road?
During my debate with him, I brought that up. I asked him, I was like, how do you know that the scene was adequately surveilled and adequately protected? And he goes, actually, I mean, I don't, but I mean, it was. And someone told me that they saw them trying to put up crime tape, but it just kept blowing down because of the storm.
Someone told me. That's the source. Someone told me.
Yeah, just like someone told him about the evidence of Karen messing with the taillight. Somebody with some crusty panties.
Possibly. Oh, that's right. That's his main source. I forgot about that. Real reliable person.
But she also gave she's so reliable because of what she said about your dog. You should be in jail, by the way.
Like, can you believe that shit? And by the way, like the dog was in Boston today too with a friend of mine. Like the dog is perfectly fine. Okay.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. It's just
she lies because she knows, for instance, if you and I are wrong and Karen's actually guilty and we've been blaming everybody, we would get sued for defamation and it would affect us because we have lives and we have possessions and we have things that we care about. Miss Krusty doesn't have anything she could just lie. She could just lie about everything because there's no means to sue her. She has nothing. It's like drawing blood from a stone.
It's an investment. Like suing someone costs time and money. And if there isn't like money at the end of that, then what the fuck is the point of winning? It's just a net loss. Like, so she can effectively just make shit up, lie, whatever. And I think at this point, nobody believes her anyway. She has no no real person who matters believes her. Like, the idiots on, the morons on Twitter will be like, oh yeah, they don't believe it either. None of them actually believe anything these fucking people say. So it's all just fucking made up.
When she posted about, oh my God, can you believe that Karen said that she saw the assault happen? That's crazy. And it's like, and then
we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. Oh yeah.
You're going to go through her tweet too?
Oh yeah. The tweet was great, So, okay. So back to this.
Here, we never get to see the condition of the taillight when it's brought into the garage. When we do see the car, we see it after Brian Higgins, Chief 𝗵𝗂𝗄𝗧, Michael Proctor, and Yuri Buchnick have all had access to it.
So between 508 and 550, right? Those four individuals, Buchnick, Proctor, 𝗵𝗂𝗄𝗧, and what's his face, have all had access to the car, all of them. So we'll see what happens. So, and none of it conveniently is on tape. Now I would contest back to the 𝗵𝗲𝗻 thing and getting the taillight there. Were there any pictures taken of the actual, was it documented? It's my understanding none of this shit was documented anyway. So in theory, did they even fucking find taillight there? Could they just have said there was fucking taillight there in his report? Like, who was the cop? Who was the cop that found the taillight? Who was the cop that found the taillight? Where did he find it? How much snow was it under? Where was this fucking, did they even need to plant the taillight? You can just fucking enter it into evidence if you want, because he did 5 more undocumented searches in the coming weeks. And people are like, did he plant it? He didn't even have to fucking go if he didn't want to. He can he's the lead detective. He can enter anything he wants into evidence. That's it. Period.
Very true. It's crazy how all of the cameras in this town just stopped working. The library, the Sally Port, the body cam of literally everyone. The ring videos.
Across the street. There's ring cameras on both houses across the street. They didn't ask for them. They said they didn't get any of it. There's, by the way, a murder happened directly across the street, so your cameras would probably get it. Can we take a look at those? Oh, we didn't get it. Sorry, didn't work. Wasn't working. Something like that.
And then, and then also, I mean, they didn't even try to get a lot of video. Like you talked about how you went to neighbors' houses, to see which way she drove around and saw it. Maybe there is some video of Karen's car, and they just no police officer ever went by to look or ask or anything.
There isn't even a CERT team report. They didn't even do a report about what they found at what time. It's just insane. But it's all in the level.
When they my understanding is when they bring a car in, they are required to take pictures of it. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, especially if it already has damage on it. They have to take the picture so that they're not accused of causing the damage later. We know that her taillight was at least slightly cracked because of backing into John O'Keefe's car, Officer O'Keefe's car. So they were required to take pictures. Why are there no pictures of her car? Maybe your video cameras aren't working, but your clickety-click cameras aren't working either.
Nothing's working. Nothing's working at all. Nothing.
We're back in like the 1700s types investigation. Like the whole reason that we have body cam these days is because we live in the 21st century. We're not,
right. Nothing was recorded. And by the way, no interviews were recorded on video. Nothing. There's absolutely nothing done. Every time I turn on like 48 Hours or Dateline or 2020 and I see the detectives grilling somebody, it's in a room at the police department in the room, and they're like, so you know who did this, right? You know you did it, right? Just tell us where the body is, tell us where this is. And they're like, I don't know anything. And then they finally crack after a few hours, right? None of that fucking happened here. Nothing. Like there was no meetings in the police station. There was nothing. Nobody was brought in and spoken to. They got talked to as a group at 11:30 at the friends and family meeting at the McCabe household. It's just wild. So real quick, let me just, I'm going to read a couple donos here and come right back to Lauren, but let me read a couple turtle chats here. What we got from Plymouth Cape Cod sends $5 and says, if a steroid user named Kyle tries to sell your solar panels in the Plymouth Cape Cod area, tell him to fuck off and pick up his pit bull's crap on the way out. Okay. Will do. Thank you very much. Doug sends $20 and says, I can't wait to see all these shitbags when KR is acquitted. Absolutely. Do you think they'll pursue the real killers? I don't think they will, but I think the feds will. Mike sends $5 and says, note to self, if I ever have to argue in court, do not cite the case law where the attorney that I'm arguing against set a precedent. Nice drop, Lunchbox, you fucking Muppet. Thank you very much, Mike. Brandon sends $5 and says, Bev, you need to name someone. Bev said you need to name someone, and Yannetti was like, hold my beer. Let's fuck Bev. That's basically what happened here. And do we have any cash apps here? Let me see. I don't want to miss anyone. Okay. No. Okay. So if anyone else wants to donate, the link to the turtle chat is at the top, or you can cash at me at $ Uncle Turtleboy, and I will read your messages that you send out loud to the class. Okay. So let's play some more.
At 5:36 p.m., the car pings that it's arrived in the Sally Port. That's during the missing video.
Oh, so it's 5:30. The car pings there. 5:36.
Trooper Proctor, Trooper Buchnick never sees Brian Higgins' phone.
Actually, I want to hear that one more time. I want to hear that one more time. That timeline.
He takes it upon himself to never get to see the condition of the taillight when it's brought into the garage.
At what time?
When we do see the car, we see it after Brian Higgins, Chief Berkowitz, Michael Proctor, and Yuri Buchnick have all had access to it.
What time?
At 5:36 p.m., the car pings that it's arrived in the Sally Port. That's during the missing video.
What does he mean by that? Like, does it have, does like the car have, what's that like safety feature that some people have, like with the monthly subscription? And like, if you get in a car crash, OnStar?
Yeah. OnStar.
Yeah.
So
look,
so the car gets towed at 4:15 and it pings in the garage, whatever, at 5:36. So that's an hour and 21 minutes later. And it should not take the car an hour and 21 minutes to get from Dighton to the garage. So I don't know if that's what time the car arrives at 5:36. Or if it just pings there at 5:36. I don't know what that means. But if it took the car an hour and 21 minutes to get from Dighton to the garage, I would opine that's way too long, and that perhaps somewhere along the way, the taillight was broken. Like something happened along the way, right? And they took some pieces of taillight off. Like that could have happened. Again, I don't know if the car arrived there at 5:36. I don't know what pinged means. I'd have to know what that means. So that's
I think, well, I just looked it up. It does look like Lexus has a collaboration with OnStar. It's ending next year. But
actually, I know that better than anyone, because when I crashed on Christmas Eve, right, on my way back from Psycho's house, I fell asleep at the wheel and I crashed, and I woke up and there was a guy talking to me in Florida working for the Toyota whatever thing, and he guided me home and he made sure I was okay, and I felt like I was in good hands. So there is a person that does that. Yeah, they do have that feature. That's right. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be a Lexus driver. It's excellent. So
it's called a Lexus Link.
The Lexus link. There it is. Thank you. Appreciate. There it is. Yep. All right, cool. All right, let's play some more.
Trooper Proctor, Trooper Buchnick never sees Brian Higgins' phone. They speak with him, and he takes it upon himself to use his own resources,
now, this is
Brian Higgins, within the federal government to ask a friend, Special Agent 𝗪𝗂𝗆𝗆, to download only the text messages in his phone between Karen and him and John. And that's it.
So 𝗪𝗆𝗆 asks him to donate. Did you say that Agent 𝗪𝗆𝗆 asks him to only download?
Buchnick never sees Brian Higgins'
phone. They never sees his phone.
They speak with him, and he takes it upon himself to use his own resources, Brian Higgins, within the federal government to ask a friend, Special Agent 𝗪𝗂𝗆𝗆𝗆, to download only the text messages in his phone between Karen and him and John.
Okay, so he asks his buddy, 𝗪𝗂𝗆𝗆. I'm going to look him up right now. 𝗪𝗂𝗆𝗆 ATF, I'm guessing. Not now. Let's see. Let me pull this up. Let me see what I can find on 𝗪𝗂𝗆𝗆, because this is a new name. First time hearing this yesterday. Let's see. All right. What does this message say? Okay. All right. So executive of, I don't see it here. Matthew 𝗪𝗆𝗆. Is this in Dayton metropolitan area? No, attended 𝗺𝗃𝗃, canine protective specialist, Kabul, Afghanistan, infantry. Could this be the guy? Does he work for?
That sounds like very policey, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Matthew 𝗪𝗆𝗆, information. Yeah. Information technology specialist, right? Information technology, technology specialist. So, yeah. Okay. This has to be him. Department of Homeland Security. Because this is the guy that downloads the stuff off his phone. Okay. So Agent Matthew 𝗪𝗆𝗆, I'm guessing this is him. He asks him, can you download just the messages between Karen and me and John? Not like the ones between him and Brian Albert or any of the, other co-conspirators, but just, them. And so they get this guy on, and, he does it for him. And that's interesting that he does that. And so let's see.
Maybe Higgins thought, okay, well, if I have him download those messages, I can basically say that I turned over what I needed to turn over, knowing that he was hiding exculpatory information from Karen's team, and then being able to destroy his phone, and then being like, no, I've already turned everything over. In fact, I asked him to download these conversations. Yep. It would be, you would have to really, Karen was in such a hard position to have to go backtrack and figure out everything that happened with no information. So you wouldn't think that on average, you wouldn't think to look at other text messages outside of the victim and the defendant, right?
No.
So,
yeah. And so that's just odd that he uses a special buddy, this is a guy who's apparently knows a lot of people and is using his resources to get special things. That's the theme that we're seeing with Higgins here.
And that's it. We have to take his word for it that we got all of them. And we certainly don't have any communications between him and Brian Albert, for instance. On February 10th, when he shows up to his interview with Troopers Buchnick and Proctor, he brings with him copies of the text that he has deemed relevant in their murder investigation.
Right.
And he hands them the copies of the extraction that he had his friend do. He then calls 𝗪𝗪𝗆𝗆𝗆 the weekend of this incident.
So February 10th, he meets with Proctor and Buchnick, who are the detectives in this case, and have already arrested Karen Reed. And instead of them leading the investigation and saying, can we have your phone? Can we have all the messages? He's like, I will give you the messages I want to give you. Just
and they were like, that sounds good.
No, that's acceptable. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
To do the limited extraction. He never tells Trooper Buchnick or Trooper Proctor how he extracted the tests, despite the fact that it was done by a friend of his in the federal government. During the federal proffer, Brian Higgins admits that he had been served with a preservation order, and the Commonwealth told him he could destroy his phone despite the order.
He could destroy his phone. The Commonwealth, why the fuck is the Commonwealth telling anyone to destroy their phone ever? Why?
Right.
Why?
Why would, and I feel like you would only prompt that if asked, like, hey, I really want to destroy my phone. Can I destroy my phone? And then they were like, let me think about it. Yeah, I know that there's an order, but I guess you can. Go ahead. Wouldn't that make you more suspicious that somebody wants to destroy their phone? So, like, the Commonwealth is aware that this man wants to destroy his phone, and they're like, that's fine. There's probably no evidence there. Go ahead.
And we don't know which person in the DA's office told him to do that, but someone did. And how do they know that? How does the FBI know this? That means they must have gotten, they must have some phones tapped or something to know this information, which is what further makes me realize that, like, these people are fucked, man. I know sometimes we get a little worried, like, why are they taking so long? It's like, with the amount of information that the feds have on these people and the access to their phones, like, dude, they're fucked. I mean this. Fucked. All these people, they're fucked. And I'm so happy that they think that they're going to get away with it, because there's no way they're letting this shit slide. There's no fucking way. Absolutely not.
He then drives to a military base on Cape Cod, opens his phone, breaks the SIM card, and throws the phone away.
Crazy.
And he says that he discussed destroying his phone with Brian Albert. Brian Albert also destroyed his phone.
Why do innocent people feel the need to destroy their phones at all?
They don't.
At all? Like,
they don't.
What?
How many phones of yours have you destroyed?
0. I have never felt the need to destroy a phone ever. Like,
never.
None.
In fact, I get really sad when I accidentally break a phone. Like,
yeah, I've had my phone taken by police who raided my house. They took old phones of my, I don't even destroy my old phones. I keep them around. That's why they took 6 of my phones, and they made it sound like I was a drug dealer by taking 6 phones. He's got 6 phones. Yeah. One of them's an iPhone 4, asshole. Like, stop it.
No, I feel that whenever I get like a crack on a screen or something, and then I have an upgrade, I'll just use the upgrade and then keep it's slightly cracked, but it still works. So if I lose my new phone, I can go back to my old phone, and then you just end up with like a drawer full of old
phones. Yeah, exactly. And so, like, it just boggles my mind why innocent people don't fucking destroy phones and SIM cards. And why did he go to an army base to do it? Like, I don't get that part.
That has something to do with lack of signals. Like, an army base doesn't have, I think there's something like protecting the army base from like I don't know. This is just a guess on my part. I should know, but
I don't know either. I mean, but that's interesting that he felt the need to go there and destroy his phone. I don't fucking know. Who knows?
Like,
maybe he'll save
I guess because your cell phone is always pinging off towers, and I don't know if maybe certain army bases don't like have a protection to prevent the pinging off towers, and he thought if he broke his phone at that time, it wouldn't register. I don't know. These are just guesses.
Because like, so a lot of us have guesses, but whatever it is, it's shady, and he's doing it, and we don't know why, and innocent people don't do that.
And Brian Albert said that he had received some text that concerns him as an explanation.
Oh.
And after that, Brian Higgins changes his phone number and changes his cell carrier. In short, he was present that night. He had a motive, and there is plenty of consciousness of guilt cover-up evidence with regard to Mr. Higgins. Moving on to Colin Albert. Shortly before January 29th of 2022, Colin Albert lived with his parents, Christopher Albert and Julie Albert, on John O'Keefe's street, just 2 doors down. We have evidence of bad blood between Colin Albert and John O'Keefe. We have evidence.
How old was Colin Albert?
How old was all?
I believe he was 16 at that time.
Okay.
We have evidence.
Why would she ask that? How old was Colin Albert at that time? I feel like that she knew the answer to that question, and she's trying to be like, how old? Oh, he's 16. Okay. So
like, he's fighting a 16-year. Why would they have bad blood between a 16-year-old and a grown adult?
Right. That's such a leading.
because he's like a little felon. Because you like look at him,
right?
The knuckles and the attitude and the and all the time. And okay.
Colin Albert and John O'Keefe used to get in confrontations because Colin Albert used to cut through his yard without permission, and John O'Keefe was not happy about that. We have evidence that Colin Albert used to throw beer cans intentionally into John O'Keefe's bushes, and John O'Keefe was not happy about that. We have evidence that Christopher and Julie Albert knew of this conflict. We have evidence that they referred to John O'Keefe as 𝗫𝗏𝗃𝗃. That's a character from I think a kid's movie, who was known as the get off my lawn guy.
𝗫𝗏𝗃𝗃. So they caught a name for that. How do they know what Julie Albert and how do the feds know what Julie and Albert and Chris Albert called John O'Keefe in a joking way, unless they have their phones, unless there's something in the phones, right? They have their phones, and that's big. That's huge.
Very true.
When John O'Keefe and Karen Reed were vacationing in Aruba over New Year's Eve 2022, the Alberts, Christopher and Julie, taunted him. They went to his porch and they had photos taken of themselves drinking on John's property when he wasn't there to do anything about it.
Oh, it's real mature.
Evidencing they knew how upset he was at what Colin Albert had been doing.
Imagine that, like, and again, these people enabled their out of control teenage son. Have you ever seen the picture of Julie, Colin, and Chris Albert with their middle fingers up? Imagine ever doing that with your kid.
With your kid?
With posing for a picture like that. Like, they think it's funny. Like, this is our son. He's a punk. He gives the middle finger. He's a tough guy. And yeah, our son throws beer cans on the neighbor's lawn. And instead of telling him, first of all, you're 17. Why are you
drinking?
Yeah. And yeah, you just throw beer cans on a cop, of all people, a cop's front lawn. You're just starting shit with them. And instead of saying something to our son, out of control son, we're going to kind of mock him. We're going to mock O'Keefe for it. When he's on Aruba, we know he's sensitive about his property and his lawn. We're going to go and activate his Ring camera by going on his property and drinking some beers of our own. Like, what the fuck? These people are such trash. They're just trash. Just because they live in Canton and they have middle class, they're fucking gutter muppets. All of these people, at the end of the day, they're just ratchets in disguise. All of them. I mean,
never heard of anything like that. I come from like a decently nice area, and like I could understand like maybe in like a lower class area, kids drinking, being rambunctious, lack of like parental control or whatever. But if you're like Canton's a nice area, and these are a bunch of cops, you would think that are like family members with cops, you would think that they'd have respect for the law, respect for each other. You would want to keep your nice area nice, no? But I guess if it's just a place where families live there forever and never leave, and you just get, wealth handed down to you generation after generation, and then you just become a classless, leech on society, then I guess maybe that's going to be your attitude.
Exactly.
Now, the investigators in this case, Your Honor, including Michael Proctor, kept Colin Albert's name completely out of the police report.
Oh.
When this case began, I had no idea who Colin Albert was. I received a tip right from the jump that Brian Albert and his nephew had beaten up John O'Keefe. I didn't even know Brian Albert had a nephew at that time. But after receiving the tip, I learned of the conflict that Colin Albert had with John O'Keefe. So I sent a letter to Mr. Lalli, I believe by certified mail. I knew that the DA's office was planning to present evidence or witnesses to a grand jury, and at that early juncture, before anybody had asked them to indict, I notified the DA of 3 potential suspects, the ones that I'm talking about now: Brian Higgins, Brian Albert, and Colin Albert. After he received that letter at our next court appearance, I'm sure Mr. Lalli can confirm this, he acknowledged that both Brian Albert and Brian Higgins would be testifying or had testified before the grand jury, but he questioned why I included Colin Albert in my letter. He told me at the time that he had no evidence that Colin Albert was there that night. However, after receiving my letter, lo and behold, multiple witnesses testified that Colin Albert was at 34 Fairview.
Oh, interesting.
January 28th to 29th. And
I've
now
heard the
DA
Twitter
will
she'll say
argue-
so many times, how dare you bring a child into this? There, and he wasn't even there that night. You guys are just, you know, how he's just a kid. First of all, he doesn't act like a kid. He acts like a grown-up asshole. Second of all, he's not really a kid anymore, right? I think he's 18 now.
He's 19, almost 20. Yeah. He's 20 now, actually. Yeah.
So he's an adult. He's an adult. And he was flipping at the gosh darn house. He was at the house. That's wild, though. But, you know, whatever.
He was. And now there's, I just want to hear what he said one more time because I missed a little part there. I want to just re-listen to every word he says. Let me play it again.
Colin Albert in my letter. He told me at the time that he had no evidence that Colin Albert was there that night.
He had no evidence Colin Albert was there.
After receiving my letter, lo and behold, multiple witnesses testified that Colin Albert was at 34 Fairview the night of January 28th to 29th.
Yeah. So they all say that he was out of the house. Oh, he's out of the house at that time. And I'll ask this again. If John O'Keefe was killed by Karen Reed outside the house, what does it matter if Colin was inside the house? Why are they trying so hard to get Colin out of that house if nothing happened nefariously inside that house? It's $1 million question that they can't answer.
And now the DA will argue, I'm sure, at trial that he left before Joan O'Keefe arrived. We don't find their evidence compelling. We don't accept it. We are not required to accept their theory of the case. We're entitled to present.
We don't accept it. So to review, all they have, the only evidence they have that Colin Albert was not inside that house is some text message. Again, I'll pull it up right here. TV Daily News, Colin Albert text message, Allie McCabe. Okay. This is it. This is, I'll show you the totality of their evidence. Again, this is a message. It just says Colin on it. And this is allegedly between Allie McCabe. This is Allie McCabe took this text message. And it says, you can get me now at 11:54. Allegedly, this is from Colin. If easier. Okay. She says, okay, I am driving people home now. Now, he doesn't say you can get me from where. Who's to say he's not trying to get to 34 Fairview Road from another location at this time? He never says where he is, if easier. Okay, I'm driving people home now. Word, get me after. KK. And at 12:10, she says, I'm here. And he goes, okay. Now, where is here? Like, how do we know that here is 34 Fairview Road? Because John arrives 10 minutes later. How do we know here is not wherever she picked him fucking up and then brought him to 34 Fairview Road at the same time John O'Keefe got there? But
which
then
would make more sense too, because that's when everybody got there.
Right. That's when the fun's starting, right? The adults are coming home. We're going to party now. We're going to drink, they're going to let us drink there. And, February 20th. So we are to assume that these two 17-year-olds, right, were at a home where his neighbor, a Boston cop, was found murdered, right? And somehow these individuals, they got out of there 10 minutes before it happened. And somehow they never discuss it on text. Like there's no, the next text message is just February 20th. They just never talk about it. Like, oh yeah, shit. Remember we were there last night? Yeah, a guy got murdered there. Like that never fucking comes up. They never talk about it. It's just like, how do we know they didn't delete 1 million fucking messages here? It's just Boston Magazine published this as if it was fact. And this is the evidence that they have presented in court that Colin Albert wasn't there. That's the kind of bullshit
Also, he probably texted her where he is at, right? Like if you scroll up in that text message, if she had scrolled up, you would have seen why did they cut that portion out?
Yeah, where he says you can get
say like, hey, from this location, but they just conveniently cut that portion of the text message out.
It's gone. It's gone. Be right back. Hold on. I got to get a drink real quick. Hold on.
I don't know if y'all could still hear me, but that is wild. Stuff is going down.
we're back.
A defense. His presence at 34 Fairview gave him the opportunity, along with the motive, to harm John O'Keefe. With regard to Brian Albert, Your Honor, this is a well-connected, well-known, powerful family in the town of Canton, Massachusetts. Brian Albert was present at that home when Colin Albert was there. Colin Albert is a member of the Albert family. He's nephew of Brian Albert. We have evidence that Brian...
By the way, can anyone in the chat tell me what is the timestamp for when he mentions the proffer? Did I go by that and miss that? Because it happened real fast. If anyone could give me the timestamp, and Lauren, if you can look out for that in the chat, if anyone can give me the timestamp of what time he mentions the proffer with Higgins.
Brian Albert had expressed hostility toward John O'Keefe as well. And we know that he initiated a phone call with Brian Higgins at 2:22 in the morning. He reached out to Brian Higgins. And then he picked up the phone when Brian Higgins came back, and they spoke for 22 seconds.
Again, I'm not looking in the chat to be told that I went past it. I know I went past it. I'm looking for the timestamp so that we can go back and get it. Thank you.
And they never revealed any of that to investigators. Again, consciousness of guilt. And perhaps most of all, Brian Albert is a first responder. He is duty bound to help somebody who's in trouble. He was notified that John O'Keefe was in trouble. Brian Albert stayed in his home. He knew what was going on outside. His sister-in-law was...
Again, I appreciate all the comments, but right before he talked about his SIM card is not a timestamp. A timestamp, just to be clear for everyone, I'm watching the Law and Crime YouTube, so we could save people. Let me spell it out for you. A timestamp involves time. You just tell me the time it happened, and then I go to that time. That would be great, so we can just hear it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
There's civilians, medical personnel eventually arrived. He did nothing. That is also consciousness of guilt. Now, Your Honor, with regard to all of that third-party culprit evidence, to admit it substantively, which I would assert to the court is both overwhelming and powerful. With regard to the Bowden argument here,
we got a timestamp.
Oh, we do. What's the timestamp? What's the timestamp?
106:32. Thank you, Costa.
Thank you, Costa. You are the man, brother. 106:32.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so we didn't even play that part. Okay. Wait. What's this? 106:30. This is Costa. You let us down.
We object for several reasons.
You're killing me, Costa.
Let's see if it. I don't know. People are talking about. I don't know.
Again, to be very clear, I'm watching the Law and Crime stream of this. Okay, the Law and Crime stream of this. So I need the timestamp on that video. That's what I need. There's like 3,500 people watching. Someone can message that. It's 1820. Let's try 1820. Well, the problem with 1820 is Auntie Bev is talking. So no, again, let me explain the directions one more time. So please listen, guys, if you want help, please listen. When I say I need a timestamp on a video, I'm not looking for like he was saying other things because I don't know when those other things are. I'd have to re-listen to everything to find that. I just need you to go on the Law and Crime stream of this and give me the timestamp it happens at. That's it. That's it. So thank you. I'm seeing a 207 here. Okay. I'm seeing okay. It's your show. Find it. Please, mods. Rooster Cogburn is banned for life. Please ban this person for life. Done. I don't even want to see it. Okay. Done. All right. So let's play this. I just have no sympathy. It's like, yes, this is teacher mode. Thank you. Okay. Done. Okay. The time. So somebody said 207. We'll try 207. Okay. At least Yanetti's talking, so this is a positive.
back, and he essentially upbraided him and read him the Riot Act, which shows a little bit about Higgins' personality. At the end of the night, everyone discussed going back to 34 Fairview, and when he gets back to 34 Fairview, he texts not Karen, he texts John O'Keefe at 12:20 a.m. He testified before the federal grand jury that he had no knowledge that they had been invited to 34 Fairview, but that is contradicted by this text message. And the inference is that he was coaxing John to come to that house. And, you know, we're not saying this gives him a motive to kill John, but we don't have to show that. Any motive to feel hostility or animosity towards John O'Keefe goes to his motive. And Your Honor, when Brian Higgins and Brian Albert are in that house, they're the only two people who are unaccounted for when the rest of—
So again, whoever said 207, you let me down. Definitely was not 207. So I just got 232. Someone sent me 232. We're going to try 232.
Incident to do the limited extraction. He never tells Trooper Buchnick or Trooper Prochnow how he extracted the tests, despite the fact that it was done by a friend of his in the federal government. During the federal proffer—
oh, there it is.
Brian Higgins admits—
Who did it? We should give them a shout out. Who gave you that time?
Nick Rocco did it.
Good job, Nick Rocco.
Yeah,
shout out.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, sir. So I like how he just kind of drops that again. Because I missed this when I was watching the original stream. Like I missed this
test, despite the fact that it was done by a friend of his in the federal government. During the federal proffer, Brian Higgins admits that he had been served with a preservation order, and the Commonwealth told him he could destroy his phone despite the order.
So he admits he had been, so during the federal proffer. So let's look up what a federal proffer is, shall we?
We probably missed it because that statement was just chock full of interesting shit. Like
he just kind of threw that in there and like didn't talk about it. And so like it didn't sound like much, but you know, a lot of people messaged me and were like, that's a really big deal, the federal proffer. So like, you know, you click on, let's see, federal proffers, top 10 things to know. Except, okay, what did I just do? Okay. What is a proffer agreement? In a proffer agreement, people under criminal investigation or prosecution enter into a written contract. So people under criminal investigation or prosecution. That means for Brian Albert to even be involved in a federal proffer, he either has to be under prosecution, which he's not because he hasn't been charged with the crime, or under criminal investigation. And they enter into a written contract to provide federal law enforcement with helpful information. Provide, AKA snitching, AKA you have turned. This is what, like, this is, he just kind of threw that in there. He's under federal, oh yeah, he's under federal proffer. So he's under criminal investigation and he's cooperating with federal law enforcement with helpful information. In exchange, prosecutors agree not to use the person's statements against them in the future. And again, I don't know if somebody, so let me find it on Twitter. When the police raided my house, I had some notes left on my dining room table, right, that I had taken. And I took a picture of those notes afterwards and I posted them on Twitter. And let me see if I can find a picture of those. I'm going to search on Twitter. What should I keyword search for this? Notes. I'm going to do from my account. See if I can find it. There it is. Got it. I got it. Okay. Found it real quick.
Oh, that's fast.
Yeah.
I was expecting you to struggle a little bit.
No, got it. Okay. It just said notes from Dr. Turtleboy. So this is, I don't know if you guys can see this. I'll take a screenshot of it and then I will highlight the screenshot. So it's a little more, okay. So it's a little more large. Give me 1 second.
You're just like my dad using those type of notepads.
Yeah. I mean, it's ghetto. It's like, well, you just kind of write on whatever's around, you know, it was around. So I wrote on it. It's like Christmas. It was on the fridge. So I just used that. Okay. So let me pull this up. So this is what my notes said. And I didn't think, again, people have shared these and like, oh, is this true? I don't publish shit that I can't back up. And these are just notes that a source gave me. People call me with information. I write shit down. And I can only publish what I can prove, right? And so let's look at some of my notes here. And again, I don't know how much of this is true, but like, okay. So actually, you know where I got these notes from? A source in the DA's office was telling me some of this shit. He was a clerk in the DA's office. He said that federal agents had been into he saw FBI agents there 3 or 4 times at the district attorney's office where he or she works. And so the detective spoke with 𝗵𝗧𝗄 and said people are scared. I don't know what Charlie Kane was, but I wrote that down. Chris Albert has been in 5 times. He went to dinner at Hillside Cash. I don't know what that means. Feds have been in 2 to 4 times. The source is really nervous. Oh no, 𝗵𝗧𝗄 was really nervous because I got people into his fundraiser event, notably Joe Warren, who he goes by Antiquated Rogue. Back when he was on our team, he kind of snuck into the 𝗵𝗧𝗄 event. Riccio came in looking for documents, of course. That there was a woman agent that, I don't know what he's a moron means. Either you're on our team or not. Proctor is supposed to be Maura Healey's driver. Again, I can't confirm all this. That they had Canton police tapped. That Higgins is fucked through their phones in the pool. So I thought that's interesting now that I look back on this, that Higgins is fucked. Because if federal agents, if the FBI has information that Brian Higgins was inside the house when John O'Keefe was murdered, he is looking at just being there at all. You're looking at 20 years in jail, even if you're not the one that killed him. Like, you were there when a fucking murder happened. You can be charged with some serious fucking shit. And
aiding and abetting. And at this point, everybody aiding and abetting and aiding after the fact. And honestly, conspiracy to murder, because the main point isn't so much what happened in the house. It was deciding to take his still alive body and putting it in the snow. At that point, everybody in that house is culpable.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, like when I look back at this, the Higgins is fine. If you're looking at 20 years in jail, you're going to start talking real quick. Like, you're going to like, okay, what do you need from me? Like, they mean serious. So like, he could still look at jail time for this, but just significantly less. This is what Leah Genduso did, if you recall. Like, Leah Genduso lied. She got called up in front of a grand jury, and they found out that she lied to them. And the U.S. Attorney's Office was the one investigating her boyfriend. And they said they gave her a proffer. And they said, if you need to testify and tell us everything about Sean Bucci that you know. And she did. And she admitted that she laundered drug money for him, that she sold drugs for him, that she did all this shit. She had to admit it all. And she saved herself from 2 years in jail by doing that, and then somehow became a state cop after the fact. So if you blow the right people, you can get anything you want. But so Higgins is fucked. Now the judge is involved in a cover-up. I have no evidence of that, but that's what they said. The source told me Higgins flipped. The source told me that they don't want Karen Read to go to trial. That is the goal. I mean, we'll see. That let's see, what else do we have here? There was one, the part about throwing it in the pool I thought was most interesting. That Higgins flipped. Higgins is fucked. So I went back to that, and I just found that whole interesting. Now, so the last thing
who do you think did it? Who do you think, if you had to like get inference or a guess as to who, because like you don't have to pinpoint Chris Albert, you don't have to pinpoint Brian Albert or Brian Higgins, but who do you think did it?
Brian Albert, Colin Albert, Brian Higgins, and the dog. That's who I think did it.
All at the same time?
No, I think that, I don't know who John started a fight with. I think John might have even thrown the first punch. I don't know. John punched someone. His fucking hand is fucked up. So he punched someone, and we don't know. I don't know who threw the first punch. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he did. But if John starts a fight, John was drunk. He's a drunken Irishman. And He's in a house. He's got one guy in there throwing beer cans on his lawn. He's got another guy in there who is trying to fuck his girlfriend. And then there's Brian Albert, who doesn't know him at all. And he's in the Boston Police Department. And Brian Higgins is Brian Albert's good friend. Colin Albert's his nephew. He's not going to allow either of them to be disrespected or beaten up in his house. He's not going to allow that. So I think when he started getting a fight, Brian Albert's going to jump in. When Brian Albert jumps in, the dog's going to jump in, period. Whatever fucking happened rather quickly. And within, and then somebody, like, there was a fight, a struggle. Fights don't last that long. Like, fights last like 30 seconds to a minute. And somebody hit him in the back of the head with something, causing that gash. And then there was probably like, oh, fuck. Shit. Is he awake? Is he alive? And then he starts puking on himself, just puke on his boxers. And they're like, what are we going to do? Fuck. Brian Albert's murder police. He's like, okay, nobody's leaving. Okay. Julie Nagel, you need to go outside and you need to tell your brother Ryan, you're not going home. That's the first thing. And then we're going to tell him you're sleeping here. We're going to take care of this. Okay. And she's probably scared shitless, goes outside and tells Ryan that. Ryan goes home. Karen's still waiting for fucking John at that point, because Ryan sees Karen alone in the car, and Karen's sitting there, and is he coming out or not? He's not texting him back, not calling him back, nothing. And they're just watching Karen, and they're like, is this bitch going to leave? Is she going to come back in? And when Karen didn't come back in, it was probably like the biggest collective, like, oh,
relief.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and that's when they start having there's no way everyone in the house didn't know. And they said, here's what we're going to do. Like, it is not work. Like, we don't all deserve to go to jail. This was an accident. You guys saw what happened. He started it. Like, you saw what happened. Like, it was self-defense, but they're not going to believe us. So here's what we need to do. We're just going to say he never came in the house. That's all you guys have to say. Sarah Levinson, Julie Nagel, we're not even going to mention that you're here. Colin, we're not even going to mention that you're here. We'll take care of it. Me, Brian Albert, me, Nicole, Jen and Matt. We'll just say that we were the only ones in the house, and Brian. And we know the cops. We know them. We'll talk to them. And as long as they can't prove he was in the house, whatever. Oh, well, but what about his phone? Get his phone out there right now.
Someone messaged me that's probably where the cocktail glass even came in. Why was that ever a part of the case in the first place? Oh, probably because the cocktail glass came from the house and they had his fingerprints, his DNA all over it. So just chuck the cocktail glass out.
I think they're like, well, how could they're going to say we're going to make it look like she did it? Well, how did she do it then? She got real mad and hit him in the back of the head with the cocktail glass. So we're just going to leave a shattered cocktail glass there, because they go, how are we going to explain the thing in the back of the head? Well, he's walking away and she was pissed off and she fucking smashed him in the head with it. And then he fucking passed out.
I just feel like that's so dumb, because if you've watched true crime at all, you know that they're forensically capable of telling which item. I mean, unless maybe the cocktail glass genuinely did cause the gash in the back of the head and then they just threw it out with him. But you could tell from forensic investigation what item is the one that caused such an injury, which is something that I've been arguing with people on Twitter about too. They were like, oh, there was no probable cause to go in the, I say, it's a crap investigation. Why didn't they go in the house? The dead body's on the lawn. They have absolute probable cause to get a warrant to go in. And they're like, no, you have Karen Reed, she's admitting guilt on the scene, and there's no reason to believe that there was like a reason to go into the house just because the body happened to land on the lawn. And it's like, just the gash on the back of the head alone, they have to find the weapon. You have to win part of the investigation, and that would involve going into the house to see if there's something in the house that matches that injury. And they didn't do that.
No, exactly. Of course, they didn't do anything normal. That would be done in a normal, especially involving a murder of a cop. They're going to cross every T and dot every I. I think that the original plan was to say that she hit him with the cocktail glass. I think they called an audible when they saw that her taillight was cracked, and were like, let's go with that instead. Oh, but there's no taillight there. Oh, but there will be. Because the cops didn't find taillight at 6 o'clock when they searched the scene. And Pleven, of course, has no answer for that. People like him, they can't explain why there was no, somehow these cops.
Well, that's not the answer for that. His answer was that the physics of when the glass wouldn't have flown back with him. So like, because of the physics of it all, the glass would have kind of shattered in place where the accident occurred, and then the body flew away. And then because there was such distance, and then you had the snow cloud possibly push the glass, it was hidden under the snow. That's Pleven's answer. It's a pretty crappy answer though, because they're also trying to, there's microscopic pieces of glass in his shirt. So did the glass go with him or not go with him? Which one?
Oh, the tail light was, the microscopic tail light was in his shirt. That's right. Yeah. Somehow.
Right. So did the tail light go with him? Did the tail light fly with him, or did it not fly with him? If it's in his shirt, must have gone with him. Yeah.
I guess so. So let me play now this part, the last part here that we want to talk about, this obvious lie. So this is what Adam 𝗟𝗚 claims Karen Read said. He said this in open court in a state police booking video.
Oh, this is embarrassing.
The effect of, are you in on the joke? And then make some sort of reference to having witnessed Brian Albert and Colin Albert essentially smash John O'Keefe's head into the taillight, indicating that that's how her taillight was broken.
So having witnessed being the key word, he's claiming that on this video in the state police booking, Karen Read said that she witnessed Brian and Colin Albert smashing John's head into the taillight, which is how the taillight broke. Now, if Karen Read said that, if Karen Read told police that, she would lose all credibility. We would laugh at her. We'd be like, that's the stupidest. Come on. This sounds like a fucking, is that a joke? Like, you saw two people came out of the house and smash your boyfriend's head into the taillight and kill him, and then you didn't do anything about it. Like, come on. So that's obviously a ridiculous thing if she were to actually say that. And if Karen Read said that on tape, I'd be like, this bitch is lying. She's crazy. And, so this gets introduced into evidence. He claims this is what the tape says.
Doesn't make any sort of further statements about why she would then leave the scene after that occurred or anything like that. These are, again, different accounts that have been made in direct variance to prior statements that she made January 29th to the troopers, to paramedics.
Okay. So he says that in the morning session. Let's see how the Twitter lawyers react to this statement. Let's see what they say. So we have here, we have Grant Smith Ellis, okay, who thinks he's some sort of reporter. And he says, here is the first press conference from today's ongoing hearing for accused murderer Karen Read. I asked Karen why she told police on video during her arrest that she saw, keyword saw, two people bash John's head into Karen's taillight. So I would argue, and then he harasses her over this. So I would argue that Adam 𝗟𝗚 is inciting harassment of an innocent woman, of a person who's presumed to be innocent here. Adam 𝗟𝗚 lied in court. And as a direct result of that lie, Grant Smith Ellis was incited to go and harass her about that lie. No?
100%. I mean, that's the least of what 𝗟𝗚 has done to Karen. He's done so many horrific things to Karen, but this one was just one that I just don't know how he's not scared. Like, is he not scared of sanctions? Is he not scared of never getting another legal job? Is he not scared of losing this job?
No, he's not. He's not.
Because he won't get sanctioned, because the judge won't sanction him, because he won't lose his job, because this is what they want him to do. But it's just wild. He should really, I mean, as an officer of the court, you're not allowed to lie. As a prosecutor, you have even more, like, you are only trying to get people who are guilty of crimes locked away. So you have to you're not just trying to win a case, you're trying to get to the truth of the matter. So to lie in open court over something that is going to be disproven 5 minutes later, is embarrassing. Oh,
It's wild. It's
love
wild. It's ballsy. It is ballsy to say the least. And Kevin from Yellow Cottage Fails says Karen Reed's statements when arrested, a stunning moment. He's stunning. It's a very stunning. Now, Kevin has since taken this back, and he's actually called out 𝗚𝗚 for lying. And I would ask Kevin, if he's lying about something that brazenly in court, Kevin, maybe you should start thinking, what else is he lying about? Like perhaps they're not being honest. And this one is still up. This
is my favorite.
Holy shit. Karen Reed is on camera telling the cops that she witnessed, not saw. I mean, not like, is guessing that she witnessed Colin and Brian Albert smash John's head into her taillight to explain away the smashed taillight, right? What a stupid woman. By the way, Karen Reed has graduated from Bentley in 3 years and has an MBA, and is probably, before she had her life turned upside down, was probably making more than $200,000 a year, managing other people's money, right? The 𝗪𝗏𝗏 Panties is unemployed and has a high school diploma. And the fact that she's calling Karen Reed stupid is like, what a stupid one. And by the way, also Karen Reed doesn't fall for bullshit. This tweet is still up. This tweet is still up. She still is.
No, why did she do that? She, if you read the comments under any of her tweets, they are all why does she, how is she still on the internet? It's not like she's posting on YouTube anymore.
Well, yeah, she's just she's like a boomer on YouTube. It's just like, doesn't mind. Boomers don't, like, when they get ratioed, it means nothing to them, right? They'll say, oh yeah, maybe everyone else is, maybe all the kids are wrong. They're all wrong and I'm probably right. And so she posts this shit, and it's just like, she just gets dunked on and laughed at because she doesn't have any shame. Like, none of these people do. Like that. Once you go to that side, you lose all shame. Like, you just don't give a fuck about appearances. Yeah. Oh, it would be pointless to debate her.
I want to debate her so bad. I've been reaching out. I've been messaging her. I posted about it on Twitter. It got, almost 200 likes or something.
She's scared too. She would never do that. She's scared. So here's what actually she said.
So that's the charges you're being charged with now. And you were indicted by great jury.
Okay, you're aware he was beaten up by Brian Albert.
You're aware. So she didn't say, I saw him. I witnessed him being beaten up by Brian Albert and Colin Albert and having him smash his head into a taillight. He goes, you're aware he was beaten up by Brian Albert and Colin Albert. And then she goes,
we're all in on the same joke, right?
We're all in on the same joke, right? Like, you're fucking with me, right? You're all just fucking with me, right? Like, this is a joke, right? What is the joke? What is she saying?
My taillight was cracked and John was pulverized.
My tail, I don't even know if she says head there. My taillight was cracked and John's head was pulverized. She's like, do you understand how absurd that sounds? That's what she's saying.
Right. Exactly.
Do you understand how fucking ridiculous that sounds? Like, this is a joke, right? This is laughably stupid. And 𝗚𝗚 claims that she said what?
To having witnessed Brian Albert and Colin Albert essentially smash John O'Keefe's head into the taillight, indicating that that's how her taillight was broken.
Okay, you're aware he was beaten up by Brian and Colin Albert. We're all in on the same joke, right? My taillight was cracked and John was pulverized.
To me, this is just like, this makes Karen Reed look so much better because it shows that in June of 2022, she was already well aware. Like, this is not something she just made up. She has firmly believed this the whole time, that since Steve Scanlon came and told them this on February 2nd, that, oh yeah, they did this. And this is before she had the Google search. This is before she had Alan Jackson was her attorney. She's like, you know that I didn't do that. And she must have thought that she was talking to like honest cops there. Like, you guys know that this wasn't me, right? But no, they clearly were. They clearly.
I would never show my face in a courtroom. I mean, I just don't know how he lies with such like how vicious, how disgusting do you have to, because he has all the information, and in order to make her appear guilty, he knows that he has to manipulate the evidence, which means he knows that she's not guilty, and yet he goes forward. I don't know how you could live with yourself putting. I wouldn't want to be prosecuted. Like so like when I consider what I want to do when I'm an attorney, hopefully swearing in next week. I was going to swear in today, but whatever. Yeah. But part of it, I was considering, do I want to be like criminal defense because I would like criminal law? Would I want to do criminal defense, or would I want to do the prosecution? And a huge reason why I wouldn't want to do prosecution is if I accidentally put an innocent person in jail, I would be mortified. I'd be so horrified with myself. And he's purposely putting an innocent person in jail. I couldn't live with myself.
He's not losing any sleep over it. He's just okay with it.
And he does it with the most condescending attitude, and he's just so brazen and rude, and the way that he gets away with so much. There's been so many times during this case where I'm like, how has he not been sanctioned? He was required to turn over evidence a while ago. How is he not spending time in jail until the defense gets their evidence? How is he not? And how is he not spending a day in jail? I don't fucking know. You lied in open court to try to make someone appear guilty
in a murder case. And you got caught. The judge was the one that asked him to play the tape. And he's like, okay. And notice the judge didn't say, that's not what you told me. She said lunchbox. She's not like, wait a minute. Like, that's not. I was waiting
for her reaction to be like,
you lied to me. Why'd you lie to me, Lally? Didn't happen. It just didn't happen. It's like, go ahead. Use that. Enter that into evidence. That doesn't make Karen Reed look bad. That makes her look good, and you look bad. Makes you look like a liar.
I hope he presents it to the jury the way he did to the judge, and then I hope he says the evidence will show Karen saying that she saw Colin and Brian smash his head into her taillight. You will see that on a tape, because as soon as the jurors have an expectation of seeing something, when they feel disappointed or let down or lied to, they completely stop listening. Yeah. So I hope he does it. I hope he keeps up the same antics.
Exactly. I'll just read a couple turtle chats here, and then we'll wrap this up. Semelina sends $10 and says, Steve, congratulations. You are a joke. Okay, Steve, you are a joke. Thank you very much, Semelina. A-Rod sends $10. Not sure if anyone realized this. When you were in jail, the January 5th hearing, the judge approved the Rule 17 for phone communications between Proctor and Jen McCabe, Brian Albert, even Julie Albert. The defense never requested communications with Higgins and Proctor. Well, the defense already had it from the feds. That's a good point. That's a good point. Thank you very much, A-Rod. Plymouth Senior Citizen sends $5 and says, if a steroid-looking guy named Kyle in the Plymouth or Cape Cod area tries to sell your Nana a $45,000 solar roof, tell him to fuck off and refund the deposit. Okay, Plymouth. Turtle sends $5 and says, oh my God, the ping was the moment the Lexus was damaged. You think so? The ping should have happened at 12:30 a.m. Is that true? I don't know how true that is. Thank you very much. Shanna sends $10 and says, hope your son is feeling better today. Yeah, he actually puked again yesterday, man. It was tough. I think I told you guys that. Yeah, he's puking. Oh yeah, I had to go pick him up from school. He's feeling better today. He's a little better. My daughter had a soccer game today. He manned it up for that. He was doing good. Free Karen Reed, Justice for Officer John O'Keefe. Thank you very much, Shanna. PJ sends $5 and says, I thought the job of prosecutors was to find the truth of the matter, regardless of where the truth leads. You would think so. I mean, traditionally it is, PJ, but apparently not in this county. Some guy with cancer donates $5 and says, sadly, prosecutors rarely, if ever, get punished for lying. They usually get rewarded. That's too bad. And A-Rod sends $10 and says, unfortunately for Karen Reed, her hitting John's truck got her in this position. It's true. Being framed, they probably were going to go with the plow theory. What else could they have said? That's a really good point. and I completely I agree with it. So, do we have any cash apps here? Oh yes, Emmy sends $20 and says, "Are you ready for the circus?" I am ready to fuck. I don't know about you guys. I am ready for Tuesday. It's fucking time. Let's go. Brianna Davis sends $20 and says, "Higgins is an asshole. Free Karen Reed. Absolute freaking lutely." All right. If anyone else wants to have their comments read, the link is at the top for Turtle Chat. We're going to wrap this up now by talking just final thoughts here, Lauren. So do you think, like, what's going to, how do you think this is going to play out in front of a jury?
Yeah, I think it's going to be like comically bad for the Commonwealth. I think it's still scary for Karen to have to be in that position. But actually, can we go back to one of your super chats? Because don't like Lexus Link and OnStar only ping once you get into an accident, once there's damage to the car?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what ping means.
Like, for instance, you said that you got in a crash and then you had somebody help you, and that was helpful. Like,
yeah, that's a ping.
Yeah. See, somebody had to get alerted to the accident. Somebody had to get a ping, a notification that something happened in order to give you the assistance.
Right.
So, okay, but whatever. Yeah, no, I think it's going to be really, going back to what you originally talked about. I think it's going to be really bad for the Commonwealth. I think it's going to be a huge smearing campaign of Karen. I feel horrible that her essentially adopted children, right? Because she and John were raising those kids, have been not only turned against her, but are now going to be used against her. I think that's pretty disgusting. And it's not like they were even witnesses. Like, so all you're going to bring them there for is for evidence that you could get from other people, and yet you're dragging children into this. So I know that children look like sympathetic witnesses, but I think it'll almost look bad for, hopefully the jury sees through that and they go, that's pretty disgusting that you're dragging children into their uncle's murder case just to talk crap about the defendant. But if that's all they have is talking shit and making her look like a bad person, then I guess that's all they have. So it's not like they have any real evidence. So let's just smear her.
Yeah. I mean, I just hope no McAlbert plants get put on this jury or something like that. Because there are a surprising number of stupid people on the internet who are like, yeah, she's guilty. I mean, I'm just amazed every time I see it. Like John DePetro from Rhode Island, a conservative radio talk shows down there. Like he tweeted some insane shit today about it. Like, it's like, how willfully retarded do you have to be to actually believe this? I can understand the McAlbert's self-preservation. I can understand the crusty panties of the world. They just don't like me. Right. And they just do it but I don't know who actually believes this. Like, if anyone actually does, like, you have to be so fucking stupid to believe this. But I don't think there's any chance in hell she gets convicted. What I'm more concerned with and more interested in is the federal investigation and who's actually going to go down, because I don't think there is a fucking chance in hell we don't see indictments. There's no fucking way, especially knowing how thorough. Like, that's one thing I've learned from this federal investigation. It's thorough. They got a whole bunch of shit. They got a snitch. They got a guy taking a proffer. They got tons of shit. Like, these people are going down. And the fact that it's taking so long means lots of people are going down. That there are going to be people indicted who I have probably never even fucking heard of before. Like, oh, who the fuck is that? Oh, what did they do? They did this? Oh, I didn't fucking know that. I didn't even know this person was involved. Right. And so I think I just think a lot of people, and I do think there's a chance of this. I think it was Richie was telling me this the other day. And I agree with this theory that the Commonwealth gets to go first. They said they're going to take 4 weeks, and that the feds are going to be watching, and they're going to watch what they present as evidence. And if they present anything as evidence that the feds know, that they know is untrue, right? They just build a case against the Commonwealth that way. And I think that there's a chance that this trial gets interrupted halfway through and moved into federal court, because Josh Levy wrote a very sternly worded letter to Auntie Bev, and said that, I can take this over whenever I want. I can move this into federal court. If you are not abiding by the rules and the edicts, I can do that whenever I want. And she does not seem to respect Josh Levy much. And so she might fuck around and find out. And I think there's a chance that halfway through this trial that something happens to interrupt the trial. I think there's a good chance of that.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, part of me hopes so, but I actually don't know what would be better for Karen. Like, would you want to finish trial and then have to sit and wait for the jury deliberation and then hear not guilty? Because then your name is 1,000% cleared. You get
You're not cleared. You're not cleared. But that Casey Anthony's guilty in the eye of public opinion. OJ, like, I don't think you're cleared legally. You're not going to jail. And that's got to feel really good. But I think she would much rather have it end halfway through and never have to hear a verdict.
Maybe. I don't know. I just want whatever she would want. I want what's best for her. She's been through so much.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that bringing the children in to testify against her is like the final slap in the face.
I don't know how she does it. It's just like, I have enough stress for my bullshit, and witness intimidation. I know these charges are going nowhere. It's like, but I couldn't imagine being charged with murder and people. I mean, I'm being called a dog killer, like, falsely today. And that's just like, wow, that's fucking evil. I couldn't imagine all these assholes calling me a murderer. Like, you killed your boyfriend, especially knowing that they did it. Like, that's got to make you so pissed off, so pissed off,
Yeah, fortunately, it's only the stupid people of the world, like the KPs and the Brett Killerins, But like all the
I don't even know who that is. God, never
making
heard.
all these like memes and like making fun of her and spreading that shit on the internet, and then you have that fake FBI bitch and who blocked me for asking her one question.
𝗪𝗓𝗪,
Yeah, like that would anger me, but she stays strong and calm and confident and looks ready to go. I think I would be crying every single. I think I would, if I were her, I would literally be in court just crying every single time.
Yeah, so we'll see. So anyway, I'm just gonna read a couple more chats. I'm gonna let you go now. We could talk after. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Sharing your insight. So let me just wrap this up, guys. One more turtle chat here from Erica, sends $25 and says, with the proffer in place, can he be called to testify? What does that look like? I would assume so. Of course he's going to be called to testify. My question is, will federal agents be called to testify? Because David kind of cut himself off while talking about that, whether or not federal agents would be testifying in this. And if they're allowed to talk about, what they've discovered, because this could be wild. It is going to be so fucking entertaining the next few weeks, guys. Like, why? I don't even think I'm excited. I mean, I feel bad being excited for it for Karen's sake. But at the same time, I also went to jail for 60 days. So, like, I kind of reserve the right to, like, I think she's okay with that I am going to enjoy watching the theater of this all. I'm sorry she has to do this, but I put my time in for this. I went to jail for 60 days. So I'm going to enjoy this shit. I'm going to fucking enjoy watching the Commonwealth fucking burn. It's going to be great. It's going to be great theater. And this is the moment we've all been waiting for. This is the last show before the trial begins. The next time we have a show on here, the trial will have started. It's going to be dope. It's going to be dope. So if anyone else wants to donate, the link is at the top, or I can just read some comments here to kind of end it. Anyone have any questions or anything before we end the show? Modified show schedule? No, it's going to be interesting with this and the Celtics and Bruins playoffs too. That's going to be interesting. Is jury selection going to be streamed? I don't think so. I can't imagine they can show jurors' faces. They're going to make a last-ditch effort. Well, they can try. They can try. What was I talking? Oh, I mean, this is another lie from them. Like, I'm told that they went to the police and made an allegation of that against me. Like, that's how desperate they are and that it went nowhere. Like, that's how fucking desperate they are. Like, these people lie. These people lie. Ratchet Madness. Oh, so Ratchet Madness continues on Monday. The the 8 ratchets that advanced in that last region were Michael Proctor beat Nicholas Garino, Plevin beat Boundless Millennial, Natalie the German advanced, Helena Rafferty advanced, Carl Dougal advanced, Brian Higgins beat Carrie Roberts, that's an 11 over a 6, Twisted Tragedies beat Diana White, that's a 10 over a 7, and Jill Daniels advanced. So those are the final 8 that advanced. We'll start with a round of 32 on Monday. Okay. They televised the Rittenhouse and Depp jury selection. Oh, I did not know that. That's interesting. No, the landlord doesn't want any pets, but dog, no. And he's he said he was like allergic to dogs, but he's like, you know, he liked me and he wanted to give me a chance. Right. But you know, it just, when his property started getting fucked up, and that was it. And honestly, like, luckily, you know, I have good friends, right? A good friend in Boston, who's kind of been taking care of her a little bit, and we're giving her back to the breeder for now. We'll see. How come she doesn't stand? I don't know. I don't know if she's supposed to stand for that. KB is on Twitter saying how if you try to violate her, she'll bring in... What does that mean? I don't get it. If I try to violate... How would I try to violate her? I don't get it. How would I violate her? I'm glad they think this is a joke. Great having you on. Great having you on, Lauren. So I talked about the Tara Kerrigan op-ed in Boston Magazine, what bullshit that was, that came out yesterday. That she has an interesting recent misdemeanor. Ooh, that's interesting. Out of what court? Out of what court? Be interested to hear about that. Oh, yeah. Celtics are going all the way this year. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be witness for the defense. But, yeah. Yeah, that's the plan, Christy. Forget her. Sorry, I'm trying to read the comments here. But, yeah. Right. Okay. Max bench these days. I can put up almost 300, believe it or not, Steve Rose. I lost a little bit when I was in jail because you just do mostly cardio shit in there, but I could put up close to 300. Okay. Anyone else have anything before we call it a night? The Grant debate should be up. And by the way, I smoked him. Obviously, I think that goes without saying. That should be Monday or Tuesday available on Law and Crime. All right. So you know what? We're going to call it a night. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for all the donos. I love you guys all. Free Karen Reed. Say a prayer for Karen if you go to church tomorrow. She needs it. She's completely innocent. And we're all, if Karen is watching, we are all standing with you. Our support for you has never wavered. You are completely innocent. We know that. And you have an army behind you. But I think she knows that already. And her family's in our thoughts. And, John O'Keefe is in our thoughts. John's father is in our thoughts. And because I think he knows that this is completely bullshit. And I hope that, I hope that justice is served. And I'm looking forward to it. And John's kids are in our thoughts. John's kids are in our thoughts for the mental abuse that they have been put through as a direct result of being lied to about Karen Read and what happened to their adopted father, John O'Keefe. All right, guys, have a great night. Peace, Turtle Riders.